Chapter 333. Everyone's gaze was trained on Yun Jian, waiting for her answer. Falcon Hall's boss was a woman? The news was too shocking. Yun Jian, however, smirked and replied to Su Limbu's question, "Why? Don't I look like one?" Once the group heard Yun Jian's reply, they could not help grumbling inwardly. "Not only do you not look like one, you don't look alike at all, okay?" Su Limbu gulped and stared at Yun Jian for another 2 seconds before he snapped out of it. Humph! Since he had said confidently that Yun Jian, Falcon Hall's boss, was not present, Su Limbu's mood was more or less affected as he scoffed. Although Yun Jian had no grudge against him, Su Limbu and Su Zetian had a deep grudge. Now that Yun Jian had taken over Falcon Hall, Su Limbu hated Yun Jian as well. Hence, Su Limbu continued quickly, casting a sidelong glance at Yun Jian as he spoke. "Humph, ignorant brat." As he spoke, Su Limbu's gaze turned to Su Zetian again, his words laced with indescribable malice. "Ha, Su Zetian, oh Su Zetian, you're amazing too. Aren't you arrogant? Now, you've handed your gang to an underage brat. Humph, I, Su Limbu, shall open my eyes wide and see how long Falcon Hall can last." He was mocking Yun Jian in disguise, hinting that Falcon Hall would fall one day after Yun Jian took over. Su Zetian was not a person who would rage at the slightest provocation, but anyone who heard it would not be able to tolerate it. Just as he was about to retort, however, Yun Jian tugged at the corner of his shirt. "Sister Jian, what are you doing?" Su Zetian's gaze was locked as he asked in bewilderment at Yun Jian's action. Yun Jian did not look at Su Zetian, nor did she answer him. Her gaze was trained on Su Limbu, the murderous intent in her eyes blatant. "Open your dog eyes and see how much stronger the gang I lead will be compared to a villain like you who speaks behind others' backs." She could crush a despicable person like Su Limbu with one hand. She was the king of secret agents who had made it to where she was now, by stepping on the corpses of people who were known as powerhouses. Yun Jian did not think much of Su Limbu, even if he was a European arms tycoon, let alone a city-level boss in Jia province. The girl's domineering words echoed throughout the place. For a time, countless famous people were stunned on the spot. Whether Yun Jian was capable or not, she was at least holding the fort now. Su Limbu felt a little guilty from Yun Jian's words, especially when he met Yun Jian's gaze. The murderous intent in Yun Jian's eyes made him shudder. In spite of it, Su Limbu was forced to retort Yun Jian due to his pride. "Humph, I'll be waiting." As he spoke, Su Limbu walked away disgruntledly, since he could not win back his pride. As a result, the uproar that was caused just now was instantly dispelled. "Who's that? So annoying." Qingyu leaned against a long table next to Yun Jian, and spoke cheerfully, peeling another grape, and chewing it before swallowing it. "He's Su Limbu, the boss of the so-called world's best gang in the neighboring city of Longmen City," Su Zetian explained from the side. "Puffed world's best gang? I think he's more like the last gang. How dare he challenge Sister Jian? He'll be in for it later." Qingyu patted the sticky grape juice off her hands, and went straight to Yun Jian. "Huh?" Su Zetian did not understand, and asked Qingyu in confusion. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Others might not understand Qingyu's words, but she did. After a while, a low male voice suddenly screamed from the crowd. Hey, what's going on? It's so itchy. So itchy. Why is my body so itchy all of a sudden? What's going on? It's so itchy. So itchy." Chapter 334. Perhaps no one else saw what happened just now. Yun Jian, on the other hand, saw everything clearly and understood what happened over there. Qingyu's poisoning was done stealthily, so Yun Jian was not surprised. When Su Limbu was near them, Qingyu had poisoned him without a sound. It was a poison that made a person itch so much that they wanted to scratch themselves all over. If there was no antidote, they might even peel off a layer of their skin. Other than Yun Jian, the others did not see what happened just now, because Qingyu's poisoning speed was too fast for the naked eye to see. How could Qingyu, nicknamed Lady Poison, be a weakling? Of course, Yun Jian could see that Qingyu had poisoned her. Humph, who asked him to be so smug just now? How dare he slander my sister Jian? He should have a taste of his own medicine. Qingyu looked at where Su Linbo was acting up and pouted before grabbing a small tomato from the long table to stuff it into her mouth and chew. Su Zetian heard Qingyu's grumbling as well, and could not help turning to look at Qingyu from the corner of Yunjian's head. He had witnessed Yunjian's skills before. Yunjian was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Not long after, Su Linbo began to scratch his body. Then, Su Linbo's reaction became more and more intense. In the end, he actually fell to the ground and started rolling. Combined with Qingyu's grumbling, Su Zetian could not help but be surprised. Could Su Linbo's reaction be Qingyu's doing? Su Zetian had thought that Qingyu was just a young girl who followed Yunjian around and did not even consider her capabilities. Now Su Zetian was even more surprised. It turned out that not only was Yunjian skilled, the girl she brought along was extraordinarily skilled as well. Su Zetian had been staring at Su Linbo without blinking earlier. He had watched Su Linbo walk away and did not even see Qingyu make a move all this while. Yet the poison had already reached Su Linbo? What level was this? Let's go check it out over there. Yunjian's gaze was nonchalant. She exuded a nonchalant aura, but her clear eyes and delicate features exuded an exquisite and unparalleled beauty. She was looking in a direction and urged Su Zetian and Qingyu to go with her. Su Zetian grew solemn when he heard that Yunjian wanted to go over there. From what he could tell, there must be a reason behind Yunjian's words. Hey, Sister Jian, you found this. Qingyu's voice came again. What did she find? Su Zetian followed Yunjian went over solemnly, thinking that Yunjian must have discovered something important. It was because she gave off the impression that she was a person who was calm and collected even in the face of major events. When he followed Yunjian to a long dining table with a variety of delicacies, however, he saw Yunjian reaching out to take a huge crab from the table. She then peeled the crab and dipped it in the soy sauce on the table before eating it bite by bite. Su Zetian, who thought that Yunjian had found something important, was dumbfounded. It turned out that Yunjian had brought them here just to eat this huge crab. Qingyu's cheeky face could not help breaking into a smile. She leaned on the table and turned to ask Yunjian, Sister Jian, this tea party doesn't look like much, but the food is pretty good. Yunjian nodded and swallowed the last mouthful of fatty crab meat before commenting, this crab is delicious. Yunjian loved crabs. She loved all kinds of seafood. Qingyu was aware of this, which was why she said what she said just now. Su Zetian, who was standing to the side, gulped. He was suddenly speechless. Chapter 335. As for Su Linbo, he had been rolling around on the ground for quite a while after Yunjian had finished eating an entire crab. Due to Su Linbo's ruckus, some of the people who were in charge of maintaining order at the tea party stepped in and carried Su Linbo to the hospital. On Su Linbo's exposed skin, there were many dense red pustules growing out of it. He's allergic, isn't he? What bad luck. Someone could not help shouting. Su Linbo's reaction did seem like an allergic reaction, so everyone assumed that it was just an allergic reaction. However, Su Linbo's reaction was quite frightening, so they had no choice but to carry him to the hospital. After that, the tea party officially began. Su Linbo's abnormal reaction did not attract much attention. Instead, outside the tea party venue, a man in his 30s with thick brows and a rather handsome appearance was escorted in by a group of more than 10 bodyguards, attracting the attention of the crowd. This rather good-looking man was the organizer of the tea party for all the gangs in the country, the boss of Ji Province's famous Green Tiger Gang, Long Yucheng. Currently, Long Yucheng was being escorted into the venue by a group of bodyguards. At that time, a large group of gang leaders from all over the country rushed forward and took the opportunity to curry favor with them. Green Tiger Gang was not only the top gang in Ji Province, but it was also the leading gang in the northern region of the country. In other words, the boss of the northern region of the country was Green Tiger Gang. Therefore, Green Tiger Gang's boss, Long Yucheng, attracted everyone's attention as soon as he appeared. In addition, Long Yucheng was not only the boss of Green Tiger Gang in everyone's eyes, but he was also young and promising. He was only 31 years old this year, and was quite good-looking. He could be considered handsome, Many of the gang bosses had the intention of using their daughters to get close to Long Yucheng. If he could climb into Long Yucheng's bed, that would be the best. But if he couldn't, it would be good even if it was a stroke of good fortune. For a moment, there was no one else other than Yun Jian, Qing Yu, and Su Zetian who remained where they were. Long Yucheng glanced around and was stunned when his gaze landed on Yun Jian and the rest. There was actually such an exquisite beauty in this world. Moreover, all the people present at the tea party were either the leaders of the various major gangs or the fighters of the gang leaders. They were all high-ranking members of the gangs. Yun Jian and Qing Yu's presence was rather conspicuous. When Long Yucheng saw that Yun Jian was standing in the same spot and did not come forward to flatter him, his curiosity was piqued. Curiosity killed the cat. At this time, Long Yucheng pushed through the crowd and walked towards Yun Jian. Yun Jian was standing in the same spot. Her eyes were calm, but she could feel Long Yucheng walking towards her. "This beautiful lady, how should I address you?" Long Yucheng asked as he stood in front of Yun Jian, sizing her up with interest amidst the crowd's support and envy. Yun Jian only raised her head to glance at Long Yucheng before withdrawing her gaze. She faintly spat out 2 words, "Rakshasa." Long Yucheng was even more surprised when he saw Yun Jian looking down and ignoring him after a glance. Of all the people who came here, which one of them wasn't anxious to curry favor with him? She was really special. "May I know which gang you're from then?" Long Yucheng's voice sounded as loud as he could to make the women present scream. However, Yun Jian did not feel anything. She did not even bother to reply to Long Yucheng. "We're from Zhe Province's Falcon Hall." Su Zetian, on the other hand, was a little scared when Yun Jian did not reply to Long Yucheng, so he replied on her behalf. "Haha, interesting." Long Yucheng narrowed his eyes and stared at Yun Jian with interest. His eyes were gleaming, but he turned to leave when Yun Jian ignored him again. Chapter 336. Long Yucheng's appearance did not fluster Yun Jian at all. It was Su Zetian who panicked as he stood beside Yun Jian and looked at her worriedly. "Sister Jian, that's Green Tiger Gang's boss, Long Yucheng. He's young, but he's the boss of the biggest gang in the north. Rumor has it that he's ruthless. Nothing he sets his sights on has ever escaped. He probably had his eyes on you just now. Sister Jian, why don't we leave earlier?" The reason why the other gangs were so afraid of the Green Tiger Gang and wanted to get close to it was because it was a gang with absolute capability. In the early years, when numerous gangs of various sizes were fighting for supremacy in the north, the Green Tiger Gang had already stood out. It had hundreds of years of history and a strong foundation. It was rumored that its wealth could rival a country's. Of course, it was just a metaphor. It did not mean that the Green Tiger Gang was really that powerful. However, Su Zetian had heard that Long Yucheng was young, only 31 years old, but he was extremely ruthless in his methods. There was another rumor about Long Yucheng. It was said that no one he set his sights on, be it a woman or a man, could escape from his clutches. Su Zetian was at most the boss of a small Longmen city back then. He had never thought of going up against the most powerful gang in the north, Green Tiger Gang. This was something that was completely impossible to win. What Long Yucheng said just now meant that he had his eyes on Yun Jian. Therefore, the only way Su Zetian could think of was to run. "Run? Do you think I'm the kind of person who would run away from a battle?" Yun Jian chuckled at Su Zetian's words and tucked a handful of hair behind her ear, as she said with pursed lips. Qing Yu, who was standing aside, chuckled. In contrast to Su Zetian's worries, Qing Yu was unfazed. In spite of it, there was a reason for her to run. If Yun Jian was really that capable, if she was only the boss of a mere Falcon Hall and caught the attention of Green Tiger Gang's boss, Long Yucheng, the biggest gang in the north, it was possible for her to run away immediately. It was a pity that Yun Jian was not like that. The word escape had never appeared in her dictionary. The tea party lasted for a while. During this time, all the bosses present, as well as the higher-ups who came to participate in the tea party, only drank tea, tasted the food and tasted the desserts. It wasn't until one of the hosts from the Green Tiger Gang stepped forward to host the event that the peaceful atmosphere was broken. "Everyone, please be quiet. Everyone here is a gang leader from all over the country, as well as the higher-ups of the various gangs. First of all, I would like to welcome you. Secondly, according to tradition, every year during the tea party in the underworld, there will be a ranking of the strength of all the major sections. Therefore, I would like to ask all the experts of the sects to make preparations. In a while, the friendly competition between the sects will begin. Everyone, please have the elites from your sects come to the arena. The Green Tiger Gang basically invited all the gangs in the country to a tea party every year. At the same time, they would also hold a ranking of the gang's strength. In other words, the leaders of the various gangs would bring the strongest person in their gang to participate in this tea party. Furthermore, during the competition, the strongest person among them would participate in the competition. Of course, at this time, the strongest person in the gang would represent their own gang. The first round of the competition will be a competition of marksmanship. Everyone, please gather in the backyard of the tea party. After the host finished speaking, he led the crowd to the backyard of the tea house. Let's go too. Yun Jian turned to say to Su Zetian and Qing Yu. The three of them then followed the crowd to the backyard of the tea house. Chapter 337. Yun Jian nodded in agreement. Qing Yu's poison skill was astounding, but her marksmanship was not the best. However, in a gang tea party like this, no matter how bad her marksmanship was, she would still be one of the best among the group. Su Zetian did not say anything. He knew that Yun Jian must have her reasons for agreeing. Yun Jian and the other two girls were standing in the corner, but they were also the most conspicuous. Long Youqing's conversation with Yun Jian earlier had attracted the attention of many people present. Yun Jian and the other two girls were there as well. In addition, they had heard that Yun Jian was Falcon Hall's boss, so they were even more curious about who they would send for the competition. Falcon Hall will probably send that middle-aged man, who looks more muscular, to compete. After all, the two girls don't look convincing at all. Moreover, the first round is a marksmanship competition. They probably haven't even touched a gun before, have they? Some people could not help discussing. I think it'll be that middle-aged man too. Among the trio, there were two girls and Su Zetian was the only one who was older and looked more robust, so everyone thought that he would be the one to represent Falcon Hall in the competition. Beautiful, we meet again as expected. TSK, do you want me to lend you a hand? I'll send a subordinate to you. Long Youqing, who had left earlier, came to the backyard of the tea house. He looked at Yun Jian and asked with a suggestive gaze. Qing Yu, go over. Yun Jian ignored Long Youqing. She did not even look at him, as she turned to speak to Qing Yu. Qing Yu turned and walked toward the place where the powerhouses from various gangs were gathered after listening to Yun Jian. Qing Yu looked sweet and adorable with a delicate baby face. However, when Qing Yu walked over, someone finally couldn't help but shout, F***ck, it can't be. This is really sending little girls to compete in spear skills? Someone immediately replied, Hee, I think the boss of Falcon Hall, Slaying Luo, knows that there's no one in his gang, so he sent a little girl up. Even if he loses this round, it won't be embarrassing for him in the future. Looks like the boss of Falcon Hall isn't that great after all. How boring. Some of the people who were watching the show had already started chatting with relish. The highlight of the annual tea party was the time when the various sects would compete against each other to rank their strength. It was also the time when people were most excited about it. TSK Beauty, you heard it yourself, right? Wasn't it nonsense to send a little girl to shoot a gun? I said that I would send a subordinate to help you out of the goodness of my heart. Why don't you appreciate it? Long Youqing stood not far from Yun Jian and couldn't help but whisper. All in all, his words were filled with doubts about the azure glaze spear technique. However, before Long Youqing could finish his sentence, a series of gunshots rang out from the arena. Bang, bang, bang. 10 consecutive gunshots rang out as Qing Yu raised her gun and aimed at the target before she started firing. 10 shots, each one in the ring, hitting the target 10 times. Long Youqing shut his mouth at once. Those who were gossiping about Yun Jian and her companions just now kept their mouths shut as well. On the other side, Qingyu ran back after firing her 10 shots. When she came to Yun Jian, she said joyfully, "Sister Jian, I'm done, but the target is so close. It's really easy." Yun Jian nodded faintly without much reaction. She looked as if everything was within her expectations. After that, each gang's experts fired their 10 shots, and the person in charge of registration was done as well. At this time, the host stood on the competition stage again, and used his not-so-pleasant voice to continue speaking. Cough cough. "Everyone, the experts of the gangs have performed very well. Now, we will immediately begin the second round of the competition. This round will be a competition of martial arts. Taekwondo, Wushu, Sanda, whatever martial arts you can use them all." Chapter 338. Qingyu waved her hand when she heard that this round was a martial arts competition. She turned to Yun Jian and said with a press of dry lips, "Sister Jian, I can't compete in martial arts." Qingyu was a poison expert, and her marksmanship was decent as well, but she could only fend off attacks from high-level secret agents or assassins when it came to martial arts. Of course, she could only fend off attacks from the side. Qingyu had never been good at martial arts competitions where one's fist was harder. A lot of people were listening intently to Yun Jian and her companions' movements. Yun Jian and her companions were too eye-catching. Moreover, even Green Tiger Gang's boss Long Yucheng seemed to be interested in Yun Jian. In addition, Qingyu's marksmanship that was looked down upon by a bunch of people just now was astounding. Qingyu was not the only one who had hit the bullseye just now. Those who represented their gangs in the competition were all formidable characters. None of them were weak. Compared to them, however, Qingyu stood out because of her age. For a young girl who was only in her teens to have such powerful spear skills, it was really amazing. In spite of it, everyone could not help gasping when they heard Qingyu say that she was not good at martial arts. God was fair. Qingyu's marksmanship was good, but her ability was lacking. What these people did not know was that even if Qingyu's ability was lacking, she had 1,000 ways to poison anyone present to death unknowingly. Amen. Yun Jian nodded faintly. The crowd started guessing again who Falcon Hall's woman, slaying Luo, would send to compete this time. It should be that middle-aged man this time. I don't think it's anyone else other than him. There's only 3 of them here. She can't possibly be the one to show up. Someone said, looking at Yun Jian. "Beauty, do you dare to make a bet with me?" Long Yucheng could not help asking as he looked at Yun Jian. "What's the bet?" Yun Jian grinned and replied to Long Yucheng. "If Falcon Hall ranks within the top 10 of all the sects in this martial arts competition, then I'll agree to any of your conditions. But if you can't get into the top 10, you can be my girlfriend. What do you think?" Long Yucheng's words were very unreasonable. Not to mention that Long Yucheng was already 31 years old, which was a full generation older than Yun Jian. However, Long Yucheng felt that the first time he saw Yun Jian, he felt that she was very attractive and special. That was why his interest was piqued, and he made such a suggestion. In Long Yucheng's mind, there were only 3 of them, including Yun Jian. Now that Qingyu was not participating in the competition, and Su Zetian did not look particularly strong either. His request was for Falcon Hall to be ranked within the top 10 among all the sects present in the martial arts competition. It was not an easy task. There might be an exception in the shooting competition just now, but it was not so easy to win in a martial arts competition. Moreover, there were more than 100 people from all the sects present. It was not easy to get into the top 10 among all the sects present. In the past, the first place always belonged to Green Tiger Gang. As for the other sects, they were not weak either. Falcon Hall's predecessor was Dragon Head Gang. Long Yucheng had some impression of Dragon Head Gang. He vaguely remembered that Dragon Head Gang had always ranked below the top 100 in the past years. That was why Long Yucheng proposed the bet with Yun Jian so boldly. Even if Dragon Head Gang, which was the current Falcon Hall, improved greatly, could they get into the top 10 from the top 100? Under everyone's gaze, Yun Jian's lips curled into a smile as she agreed to Long Yucheng's bet. "Sure. Sister Jian, you can't do this. Su Zetian called out anxiously from the side. I know what to do, Yun Jian replied, and stood up to make her way to the arena. Due to Qing Yu's appearance just now, Yun Jian's appearance was no longer a surprise to the people present. Once they were in the arena, the opponents were decided according to the order of drawing lots. Yun Jian drew a lot, and went up to the arena, ready to fight. A bulky man came up from the opposite side of the arena. It was obvious that this person was her opponent. At this time, someone saw the tall and sturdy man, and immediately shouted in surprise. Chapter 339. What do you mean it's said? It's true. Teng Shi is the second in command of the Green Tiger Gang. His ability is nothing to scoff at. Did you guys know that? Teng Shi has always represented the Green Tiger Gang, and won first place in the past martial arts competitions. Is this for real? He's that good? Do you think he's bluffing? The group of people who were watching the show commented enthusiastically. The friendly competition between the major guilds was, in fact, just sending the strongest person in their own gang to participate. However, the strongest person in the gang represented the entire gang behind him. However, a single powerhouse could be compared to countless higher-ups. Therefore, everyone valued this friendly competition. After all, whichever gang sent this person to win first place would mean that the gang was very powerful. The crowd was enjoying the show, while Su Zetian wore a bitter expression on his face. Compared to Su Zetian, Qing Yu was sitting on a bench lazily, munching on the sunflower seeds that she used to entertain the guests. Long Yucheng, on the other hand, sat on the highest seat. He narrowed his eyes, certain that Yun Jian would lose. At the same time, Yun Jian, who was thought to lose for sure, stood in the ring. She glanced sideways at her opponent, the burly Teng Shi, who was about 193 meters tall. The difference between Teng Shi's height and Yun Jian, who was about 1.6 meters tall, was huge. Under such circumstances, no one thought that Yun Jian could win the competition. That included Su Zetian. Although Yun Jian had defeated Shiniji, who almost made it into the international fighting tournament, Teng Shi was not on the same level as Shiniji back then. Teng Shi was originally a retired Special Forces soldier. When he was a Special Forces soldier, he had even killed a female secret agent from an international underground organization with his bare hands. Therefore, Su Zetian thought that no matter how powerful Yun Jian was, she was only a little girl after all. Could she really defeat Teng Shi, who had killed the female secret agents from the underground organization, who killed without batting an eyelid? You want to fight me? Soaring Snake frowned when he saw that his opponent was Yun Jian. It wasn't that Teng Shi looked down on Yun Jian, but as a veteran Special Forces soldier, he felt helpless when he was asked to fight this young girl, who was not even an adult yet. Yes, Yun Jian looked straight at the Soaring Snake. She was not afraid in the face of danger. When the audience saw this, they all began to cheer. However, they all cheered for Soaring Snake. Soaring Snake, defeat her and send her home to drink milk. How dare you come here and ask for a beating? I don't hit children. Soaring Snake, on the other hand, stared at Yun Jian for 2 seconds. After he finished speaking in front of everyone, he turned around to leave the arena. You're not fighting anymore. It hasn't even started yet. Someone couldn't help but voice out in disappointment. Just as Soaring Snake was about to walk out of the arena, the girl's clear and melodious voice came from behind him. What a pity. I specialize in fighting big friends. She compared him to a big friend? When Soaring Snake heard Yun Jian's words, he was stunned. When he turned around, he saw a figure so fast that it was impossible to see with the naked eye rushing towards him. In the next second, the figure kicked Soaring Snake in the abdomen. Soaring Snake could clearly feel himself being kicked a few meters away. His chest was burning as he fell outside the arena. That speed was indescribable with words. In the past, he had killed a female secret agent from an international underground organization. That secret agent's killing method was mysteriously similar to the kick he had received. Chapter 340. Teng Shi lost before the fight even started? The audience below was dumbfounded. However, many of them were Teng Shi's fans. In their eyes, Yun Jian's move was a sneak attack. Hence, someone stood up from his seat and shouted at Yun Jian. Little girl, that was a sneak attack. It doesn't count. If Teng Shi was serious, you'd probably be sent home to drink milk. Some people also stood up and spoke up for Teng Shi. They even complained about Yun Jian. That's right. You're so young. Yet you're using a sneak attack. How shameless. Get lost. Get lost. In an instant, the number of people cursing Yun Jian increased greatly. Long Yucheng, who was sitting below, had already sensed that something was wrong when Yun Jian made her move. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Yun Jian, as if he wanted to see through her. Yun Jian, who was slandered by the crowd, was unmoved. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Teng Shi, who was lying on the ground. Suddenly, she hooked her pinky and said with a glimmer in her eyes, "If you're not convinced, you can fight me fair and square." Yun Jian didn't intend to win with a sneak attack. Reality proved that if she didn't make the first move, with Teng Shi's character, he would probably leave. Teng Shi, who was lying on the ground, looked at Yun Jian and stopped looking at her with contempt. Yun Jian didn't use too much strength in her kick. Even so, it was enough to hurt Teng Shi, but it didn't hurt his muscles or bones. Teng Shi patted the dust off and stood up from the ground. He frowned and looked at Yun Jian for 2 seconds. After a while, his face darkened again. Under everyone's gaze, he said to Yun Jian, "I admit defeat." Teng Shi was a smart person. He was able to become the second in command of the Green Tiger Gang, and had worked for Long Yucheng for so many years. He definitely had some tricks up his sleeve. Yun Jian's kick just now might have looked like a sneak attack to others, but only he knew. Even if Soaring Snake hadn't been ambushed and had fought Yun Jian head-on, the result would have been the same. He would have been sent flying with a kick. Teng Shi was the champion of the martial arts competition over the years. It could be said that as long as he admitted defeat, Yun Jian would have a 100% chance of winning even if she fought with others later on. After all, Yun Jian's kick just now was not for show. No one dared to underestimate Yun Jian anymore. They also knew that since Yun Jian dared to come on stage, she must have some skills. However, Teng Shi's admission of defeat still shocked everyone. However, compared to Soaring Snake's surrender, Long Yucheng's expression was the ugliest. Long Yucheng was the first to stand up. As the leader of the Green Tiger Gang, he slammed the table and ordered Soaring Snake, "How can a member of the Green Tiger Gang be such a coward?" Long Yucheng was afraid that if Teng Shi admitted defeat, Yun Jian might really make it to the top 10. He was still waiting for Yun Jian to fulfill her promise after she lost. Teng Shi remained unmoved after hearing Long Yucheng's words. If he could win, why would he admit defeat? However, even though he knew that he couldn't beat his opponent, Teng Shi wasn't so stupid as to rush to his death. "Boss, I'm not a coward. I really can't beat her. That kick just now didn't seem special, but the way she attacked was similar to the female international secret agent I killed years ago. No, it was even better. Back then, when I killed that female international underground agent, I was also covered in wounds and on the verge of death. I almost died. That's why I can't beat her in this round. That's why I admitted defeat." Teng Shi's words pierced everyone's hearts. Such a high evaluation caused huge waves in everyone's hearts. Chapter 341. The female international secret agent that Teng Shi had killed was an elite with decent skills. It was said that she could be ranked in the top 50 of the secret agent ranking. International was a global concept. To be able to be ranked in the top 50 of the assassin or secret agent ranking was already quite powerful. After all, there were many assassins or secret agents in the world. As for the top 10 assassins or secret agents in the international assassin or secret agent ranking, they were simply freaks that crawled out from a pile of dead people. Among the top 20 assassins or secret agents, which one of them was not a big devil with blood on their hands? These 20 people were people that no one present would even think about. After all, these people were at the top of the world, and they did not have the life to meet them. Therefore, Teng Shi, who had killed the female international agent, had won the respect of the strong in everyone's hearts. Today, however, Teng Shi, who claimed to be a powerhouse, was saying that Yun Jian was more skillful than the female agent, whom he had barely managed to kill back then. Under such circumstances, who would dare to fight with Yin Jian? However, if the people present knew that Yin Jian was the strongest among the 20 big devils, they would probably be scared witless. As for whether I, Ting Shi, am a coward or not, boss, I'm not a coward. However, I'm not a suicidal person either. Therefore, I admit that I'm not as good as you in this martial arts competition. Teng Shi said this to Long Yucheng, then turned around and left the arena, walking toward the guest seats. Long Yucheng was shocked by Teng Shi's words, but he immediately revealed a trace of viciousness on his face. Ahem, since Teng Shi admitted defeat, then it's Luosha's victory. The host continued to preside over the event. In this martial arts competition, Yun Jian defeated Teng Shi, but she still had to fight with the other masters of the gang. However, because of Teng Shi's precedent, the other people who met Yun Jian all admitted defeat with tears in their eyes. What a joke! How would they dare to fight a woman that even Teng Shi could not defeat? Wouldn't that be courting death? Therefore, Yun Jian did not even need to fight again to secure the first place in the martial arts competition. Winning first place in the martial arts competition also meant that Falcon Hall had surpassed the Green Tiger Gang this year and became the overall champion of this Tea Party competition. First place. Due to Qing Yu's outstanding marksmanship in the first round and Yun Jian's first place in this round, the overall champion was Falcon Hall. The result shocked everyone present, and Long Yucheng's expression darkened further. Long Yucheng had planned for Yun Jian's Falcon Hall never to enter the top 10. That was why he made the bet. But now, her Falcon Hall had actually replaced her Green Tiger Gang and won first place in this Tea Party competition. Yun Jian, who had not even made a move, returned to her seat. She was not in a hurry to sit down, but stared at Long Yucheng with her pretty eyes and asked, I wonder if the bet I made with Boss Long earlier still stands? Long Yucheng's expression darkened under everyone's watchful eyes. He had lost face because of a woman. She, on the other hand, was only the boss of a city-level gang. How dare she threaten him again and again? Reality proved that Long Yucheng did not plan to fulfill his promise. Chapter 342. Although Long Yucheng was the boss of the Green Tiger Gang, and he was quite good-looking, at least his facial features could be considered decent. But how many of the gang members who could survive in the black market were honest and upright? It was true that gangsters were loyal, but it did not apply to Long Yucheng. Su Zetian was afraid of Long Yucheng from the start, because this was Long Yucheng's territory. More importantly, Long Yucheng did not have a good reputation among the big gangs. Some people said that he changed his attitude faster than flipping a book. Moreover, as mentioned earlier, there was nothing that Long Yucheng could not get if he wanted it. As for Long Yucheng's sudden change in attitude, everyone present could not wait to avoid it. Yun Jian, the person in question, was surrounded by Long Yucheng's gang of close to 100 men. However, she looked normal and did not look surprised at all. Even Long Yucheng's sudden change in attitude seemed to be within her expectations. Long Yucheng was already on his feet now. He went to Yun Jian and looked down at her from above. After 2 seconds of silence, he spoke to Yun Jian. Hehe, you're a smart person. Since that's the case, I won't beat around the bush with you. I, Long Yucheng, have countless women, but I've never met one that I like. Those women only care about my identity and status. But you're different. You're special. So I'm giving you a chance now. I want you to be my woman. Long Yucheng's words were said in a firm tone. His words carried the meaning of, I'm flattering you by asking you to be my woman. Yun Jian only narrowed her eyes slightly. Her petite body was wrapped in a simple down jacket, but she looked strangely alluring. What if I refuse? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. She did not show any fear, and her words were clear. Hehe, then Falcon Hall will disappear from the stage of the black market. Long Yucheng's pupils shrunk as he stared at Yun Jian's beautiful body. His desire was aroused as he threatened loudly. Yun Jian was different from other women. She seemed to have many secrets about her, and her beautiful and alluring body was constantly attracting Long Yucheng. Long Yucheng desperately wanted to have her for himself. He could not help roaring inwardly that he had to make this woman his prisoner in bed. Are you sure? Yun Jian, on the other hand, kept her smile with squinted eyes. There was an unfathomable viciousness on her petite face. Su Zetian and Qing Yu were standing behind Yun Jian, surrounded by a group of people. Su Zetian was already sweating profusely. This time, Sister Jian did not bring any of her brothers with her, but something like this happened. He was afraid that Long Yuqing would ruin Yun Jian, of course. Ha, babe. All of this can be avoided if you're obedient. Long Yuqing was back to his usual self as he walked up to Yun Jian with a smile and stood in front of her. Her fair and flawless skin was reflected in Long Yuqing's eyes as he unconsciously reached out to touch Yun Jian's cheek. The gang leaders who dared not make a sound shook their heads inwardly. Yun Jian was skilled, but there were only 3 of them. How could she win against Long Yuqing? The pretty girl was probably going to be ruined here. Just as Long Yuqing reached out to touch Yun Jian's cheek with a smile, a bright object flashed before everyone's eyes. TSS. With a soft sound, a blinding bullet came from afar and sank into Long Yuqing's hand that was about to touch Yun Jian's skin. Ow! Long Yuqing howled as the bullet pierced his palm, his voice echoing through the clouds. Everyone was stunned by this turn of events. At the same time, everyone looked in the direction where the bullet had come from. A man in his 19 years of age was escorted by 2 men in their 20s as they walked over. The man in the middle was the one who had fired the shot. He was currently striding over with his long legs. Chapter 343. The newcomer was Ce. The 2 men standing behind Ce were none other than Adam and Mo's son, who were always by his side. The appearance of the 3 men immediately caused a commotion among the crowd. The 3 of them were all top-notch beauties, and their appearances were absolutely stunning. In comparison, Ce's looks were a cut above the other 2 men. The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded by what they saw. Originally, among this group of people, Long Yuqing's appearance could be considered to be the most upright and outstanding. However, the appearance of the 3 men, not to mention Ce, who was standing in the middle, the 2 men beside him were far more attractive than Long Yuqing. As for Ce, who was standing in the middle, he was so handsome that words could not describe him. At that moment, what frightened the crowd the most was what Ce had said earlier. Kill Long Yuqing? Destroy the Green Tiger Gang? The crowd's heart skipped a beat, but they quickly calmed down. Even if Ce had shot Long Yuqing's palm the moment he appeared, what kind of status did the Green Tiger Gang have? The Green Tiger Gang was the top gang in the northern region. How could they be destroyed just like that? Yes, young master. Mo's son, who was standing on the left, answered. He then took out his phone from his pocket and dialed a number. Who are you? How dare you say that you want to kill me and destroy the Green Tiger Gang? Long Yuqing's face was contorted in pain as he pressed his other hand that was shot through with one hand and took 2 steps forward to stand in front of Ce, speaking through the pain. You don't deserve to know our young master's identity. Haha. As for your Green Tiger Gang, our Hun organization can't destroy you. Adam could no longer suppress his irritable nature. He jumped out and sneered at Long Yuqing. Hun organization? Hun organization. Wasn't Hun organization the famous assassin organization that had trained countless international bigwigs? One should know that the top secret agent slaying God, who had shaken the world and made countless businessmen, politicians, and international tycoons tremble in fear, was from Hun organization. These people were from the Hun organization. Hearing Adam's words, Long Yuqing's face, which was already pale due to his injuries, became as white as a sheet of paper. He was stunned on the spot. The Hun organization, along with the Kosha mercenaries, was known as the #1 assassin organization and the #1 mercenary organization. Someone once said that if you offended anyone from the Hun organization, you wouldn't be far from death. Long Yuqing hadn't expected the people from Hun to show up at his little tea party. The bullet had pierced his palm, but Long Yuqing was enduring the suffocating pain. He knelt down with a thud and crawled toward Ce. Please let me go, let me go. I don't know how I've angered all of you, but please forgive me. Let me go this time. Long Yocheng's entire body was trembling, and his voice was trembling. Heavens! An Hun organization. He, Long Yucheng, had angered the people from an Hun organization? Not to mention the Green Tiger Gang. Even if all the gangs present were to combine forces, they wouldn't be a match for an Hun organization. This was the difference in ability. I don't know how you've angered our young master. Pft, you challenged our young madam in public, and you say you didn't anger our young master? Adam stood in front of Long Yucheng and mercilessly stomped on the back of Long Yocheng's hand as he spoke word by word. Chapter 344. From today onwards, don't let me hear any news about the Green Tiger Gang. CE turned his body sideways, not even sparing a glance at Long Yucheng, who was kneeling on the ground with Adam stepping on the back of his hand, announcing his end. Young mistress? This woman named Slaying Luo was the woman of this man who possessed such a dominating aura? Long Yocheng's eyes lost their color as he stood rooted to the ground. His heart was pounding with regret. Alas, it was too late. He actually wanted to snatch the woman from an Hun group. Now the 100-year-old Green Tiger Gang that had been passed down by his ancestors would be destroyed because of his mistake. Everyone was stunned as they stared at CE, who announced the end of the Northern region's top gang, Green Tiger Gang, as he walked toward Yunjian. At this moment, everyone's hearts surged with a wild exclamation. Yunjian was actually the woman of an important figure in an Hun group. She actually had connections with people from an Hun organization. Su Zetian was equally stunned. He stared blankly at the man who walked toward Yunjian like a king, exclaiming inwardly. It was no wonder that Yunjian was so confident that she could lead the gang out of Longmen City. Su Zetian was the only one who felt grateful that he had chosen to follow Yunjian back then. Otherwise, he would still be wandering around Longmen City. Yunjian was destined to be extraordinary. CE was already in front of Yunjian. Looking at the girl's petite face, he had the urge to hide her in his embrace and prevent her from being stolen by anyone. Why are you here? Yunjian blinked. She had wanted to make a move just now, but CE had made the first move. Moreover, he had told her that he would be leaving for a while. She did not expect him to appear here, so she asked, I'm done here, so I came to look for you. She did not expect to see the scene just now. CE did not finish his sentence, but his raised brow was enough to show his fury. His tall frame standing in front of Yunjian was strangely compatible with Yunjian. It was just a simple conversation, but the meaning behind it was self-evident. Young Master, Green Tiger Gang's headquarters has been destroyed. Emo-san hung up the phone and went to CE, saying something that stirred everyone's emotions again. CE answered and went over to grab Yunjian's hand to walk out. The following matters were naturally left to Adam and Emo-san to handle. Wait. Yunjian was taken by CE. She paused and turned to take out her Ferrari sports car key to Qingyu from her pocket and tossed it to Qingyu's car. Qing with that Yunjian's hand. Qingjiao as Qingyu caught it and replied, Okay, Sister Jian. By then, Yunjian and CE had already left. Long Yucheng watched as Yunjian and CE left. He clutched his palm, but the blood was already flowing down. What are you looking at? You've offended my young master. Today, I'm going to kill you. Adam stepped on the back of Long Yocheng's hand and twisted Long Yocheng's head mercilessly. The tea party could not continue now that it had come to this. However, no one would have thought that the Green Tiger Gang, once the #1 gang in the northern region, would completely disappear from the stage of history just because Long Yucheng had flirted with a woman that he should not have flirted with. Chapter 345. When Yunjian and CE walked out of the tea party venue, Adam lifted his leg to grab Long Yucheng from the ground and was about to give him the final blow. Suddenly, a weak male voice rang out from the tea party venue. The man's voice was directed at Adam. Are you Adam, one of the 4 leaders of the Hun organization? There were 4 leaders in an Hun organization. Their names were Adam, Emo-san, Shui-ing and Linwei. The 4 leaders of an Hun organization were the people with the highest positions in the organization, other than the leader. Moreover, the four of them had their own duties, and each of them was comparable to the top 3 of the international assassin and secret agent rankings. Among the four of them, Lin Wei was in charge of training the assassins in an Han organization. Hence, he was the most mysterious. Shui Ying, on the other hand, represented the leader of an Han organization. As for Adam and Imo-san, they followed the leader of an Han organization. Both of them were the closest to the leader of an Han organization, who was rumored to be powerful, but never revealed himself. This weak male voice came from a sickly and frail middle-aged man. He had heard that Adam, one of the 4 leaders of the Han organization, was a hot-tempered person, which was very similar to the person in front of him. Hence he spoke up. However, when the crowd heard him, they were stunned and held their breath. Everyone who was present was in the underworld, who had not heard of the 4 leaders of an Han organization. Even Qing Yu could not help but shudder at this moment. Adam and Imo-san were the ones who always followed the leader of an Han organization. They would never show weakness to anyone. There was only one person who could make them listen to him and bow down to him willingly. That person was the leader of an Han organization. If that was the case, could the man who looked like he was only 19 years old be the leader of an Han organization himself? Yun Jian had left the tea party with Ce and got into Ce's Lamborghini. Once they got into the car, Ce grabbed Yun Jian's wrist. He narrowed his eyes slightly. A strong sense of possessiveness reflected in his starry eyes. If you meet that kind of person in the future, kill him directly. If anything happens, I'll take care of it for you. His gaze that met with Yun Jian's gradually softened. However, his words were still filled with anger. Whether it was Chun Yen at the beginning or Long Ucd this time, they all wanted to steal his woman. Ce had never wanted to wrap a woman up so crazily to prevent others from seeing her beauty. He had hated women since he was young until he met her. Ce, on the other hand, was someone who did not like someone. Once he liked someone, he would never change. Therefore, he was really angry just now. His eyebrows were slightly furrowed, and there was an indescribable handsomeness on his handsome face. Suddenly, a pair of cold hands caressed between his brows, smoothing his frown. She could feel her heartbeat as she met Ce's eyes, pressing her lips seductively. She pursed her red lips and leaned closer to him. Ce looked at the red lips that were inches away from him. He swallowed his dry throat and leaned his head forward to kiss those red lips. Yun Jian responded to him like dry wood meeting fire. Perhaps in Yun Jian's heart, she had already set her mind on him. After the kiss, Yun Jian lowered her head, her face flushed red. Chapter 346. After Yun Jian and Ce returned to Longmen City, Qing Yu and Su Zetian arrived shortly after. Qing Yu had rented a suite in Longmen City and was staying there for the time being. Not long after she returned to Longmen City with Ce, the 2 leaders of an Han group followed them to Longmen City and stayed in the villa as Ce's friends. The empty villa became lively all of a sudden. Dong Wan did not know Adam and Imo-san's identities at all, thinking that they were her nephew's friends. Therefore, she welcomed them warmly. This morning, Yun Jian brought her brother, Yun Yi, to join Zhang Xiaofeng for a morning run and forced Zhang Xiaofeng to train his body's flexibility. Zhang Xiaofeng was sweating profusely, but in order to learn new moves, he gritted his teeth and persevered. Yun Jian had also pulled her brother, Yun Yi's ligament, but Yun Yi did not even cry out in pain. Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Yi were already sweating from exhaustion. Before they left, Zhang Xiaofeng even called out to Yun Jian, "Master, the masquerade party I mentioned to you last time will be held at 6 o'clock next Saturday night. You must come." Zhang Xiaofeng then turned around and called out to Yun Yi with a cheeky grin. "Hey junior brother, you're coming too. It's a promise. No going back on your word." Since Yun Yi and Zhang Xiaofeng went for a morning run and trained together with Yun Jian, their relationship had gradually warmed up. "How rude of you to call me junior brother." Yun Yi was not angry. He merely looked at Zhang Xiaofeng's smiling face and looked like he was going to punch Zhang Xiaofeng. "You can't hit me. I'm leaving." Zhang Xiaofeng mischievously jumped away and ran forward for a long distance. Then he turned around and said goodbye to Yunjian and Yuni. After saying that, Zhang Xiaofeng put his jacket on his shoulder and his 1.8-meter tall figure ran away. How childish. Yunjian couldn't help but sigh. She turned her head and glanced at Yuni. Brother, let's go home too. Wait, Xiaojian. Yuni stopped smiling and looked at Yuni, hesitating for 2 seconds before asking. Xiaojian, you should know the girl that day, right? That day, he was framed and drugged by Chen Yubing, and almost fell into her trap. Fortunately, Qing Yu came to his rescue. It had been a long time since he last saw her. Yuni had not seen Qing Yu since that day. Actually, whenever Yuni closed his eyes these few days, Qing Yu's petite and adorable baby face would appear in his mind. Yunjian and Qing Yu's interaction that day told Yuni that Yunjian obviously knew her, which was why Yuni asked, I know her? Yunjian was stunned for a moment before she snapped back to reality. When she turned to look at her brother, Yuni, there were 2 rosy clouds on his cheeks. She lives at Huda Harbor on West Street. Yunjian gave her a specific address and blinked, acting like she knew nothing. Brother, is there a problem? Yunjian acted like an ignorant child and asked Yuni. It's nothing. Yuni waved his hand and strode forward. In fact, Yuni was already planning to look for Qing Yu. Yunjian grinned and followed him with long strides. It happened to be the afternoon of the same day. Qing Yu stayed at home alone. She had rented the suite and extravagantly installed a color TV in the living room. The TV was currently playing Calabash Brothers that were popular in 1998. Grandpa. The voice that came from the TV made Qing Yu chuckle as she munched on sunflower seeds. It did not match her usual babyface image at all. Ding dong. There was a knock on the door. Who is it? Qing Yu spat out the sunflower seed shell and called out loudly. By then, Qing Yu had spat out melon seed shells all over the floor. The room was a mess, completely unlike the reserved manner a girl should have. Chapter 347. Stop it, I'm already here to open the door. I'm so pissed, it's the best part of the show. Little Calabash Brothers' grandfather has been taken away. Qing Yu mumbled as she ran to open the door in her slippers. Since she was at home, she only wore a dress with sleeves that did not go past her knees. She had thick stockings on her feet and a cute pink jacket on her. As soon as she said that, she opened the door and saw the person standing outside. In an instant, the long-winded words in his mouth stopped. Yuni was standing at the door. He wore a thick blue down jacket that accentuated his handsomeness. In spite of it, Qing Yu was rooted to the spot when she saw Yuni. Her words stopped abruptly as well. Why are you here? Qing Yu shrieked after a moment of silence. Then, she realized that she was wearing very casual and revealing clothes. In this cold winter, wearing less would always feel more exposed than others. Of course, Qing Yu would only wear this at home. She had thought that it was Yun Jian who was knocking on the door, because Yun Jian was the only one who knew that she was staying here. That was why she had boldly opened the door. Who would have thought that the person standing at the door was not Sister Jian but Yuni? Once she saw Yuni, she was reminded of the time when she was nude and Yuni was detoxified, and both of them were hugging each other. Her cheeks glowed red as if blood was splattered on them. She had no choice but to detoxify Yuni back then. After all, Yuni was drugged with an aphrodisiac, and the effect was rather strong. She could only remove her clothes and warm up Yunyi's body with her body temperature before feeding him the antidote to neutralize the drug. Qing Yu's way of saving people had always been unique, as it was her own creation. Later, Yuni said that she would be responsible for her, so she didn't think much about it. But now wasn't it because of that Yuni was standing at the door? Can I come in? Yuni smiled politely. His smile was like the spring breeze, giving people a refreshing feeling, as if they had been blown by the spring breeze. No. Qing Yu was suddenly reminded of the clutter in her room that was piled up like a mountain. She reached out and tiptoed to block Yunyi's gaze. I'm coming in then. Yuni pretended not to hear Qing Yu's voice. He smiled with pursed lips and walked into Qing Yu's house. Then he saw the messy sofa, melon seeds all over the floor, and all kinds of shoes on the shoe cabinet. Yinny! Grandpa, grandpa, grandpa. At this moment, the Calabash brothers' shouts could be heard from the TV. Qingyu blushed, lowering her head, as if her little secret was exposed on the spot. Cough, cough. Your room, it's a little messy. Let me tidy it up for you. Yinny coughed dryly, and his tall silhouette walked towards the messy clutter. Qingyu, who was standing where she was, lowered her head even more, her cheeks flushing red. A week passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the day before Zhang Xiaofeng's masquerade party. On Friday, Yin Jian finished school early, which was rare. She replaced Qin Yiru to fetch Xiao Yunju home from his primary school. Chapter 348. Xiao Yunju was now in year 1 of elementary school. The best elementary school in Longmen City, Wenningsi Elementary School. Wenningsi Elementary School was the best elementary school in Longmen City, just like Longmen High School, where Yin Jian studied, and De High School, where Yinyi studied. Yin Jian took the bus and came to the entrance of Wenningsi Elementary School. She had just finished school and was carrying a shoulder bag. She had not put it down when she ran to the school to fetch Xiao Yunju. Wenningsi Elementary School was a government-run elementary school, and its teachers were of high standards. Those who could enroll in Wenningsi Elementary School must have come from wealthy families. When the students of Wenningsi Elementary School went to school, their parents would pick them up from the school's classroom. There was a lot of traffic outside the school gate. In 1998, it was common for parents to pick their children up with bicycles and electric scooters, but those who could ride electric scooters were few and far in between. The number of cars parked in front of the school gate could be counted with one hand. Therefore, some parents who drove cars liked to drive their children into the school to show off. Yin Jian came by bus. She did not like to drive her Ferrari sports car to fetch Xiao Yunju. Children of this age were still in elementary school, but there was already a trend of following the trend in their class. It was especially so for some parents who taught their children to play with their rich classmates since they were young. Playing with their rich classmates was a good starting point for their children. In spite of it, Yin Jian did not want her younger brother to become the kind of person that the children in class would fight to be friends with for his money. Following the group of parents into Wenningsi Elementary School, Yin Jian soon arrived at Xiao Yunju's class. At the entrance of the classroom, a triangular plaque was hung on the outside of the classroom door. There were a few bright red words printed on it. Class 1-1, this was Xiao Yunju's class. Yin Jian came to the classroom door with her bag slung over her shoulder. Looking into the classroom through the row of glass from the corridor, she saw Xiao Yunju sitting neatly in the first row, his eyes on the teacher, who was lecturing on the podium. It was not the end of class yet, but the classroom was already crowded with parents picking their children up. Xiao Yunju was not tall, so he sat at the first table. Yin Jian could clearly see his little head bobbing from the corridor behind. The teacher in the classroom seemed to have said, "Class is over," and the students in little Yunju's class quickly packed their bags. Xiao Yunju poked his head out after packing his bag, and found Yin Jian was surprised that Yin Jian was here to pick him up from school, so he ran out with his bag. "Big sister." Xiao Yunju ran into Yin Jian's arms. Yin Jian patted Xiao Yunju's head, and took the bag from Xiao Yunju's hands. She asked, "Xiao Yunju, did you listen to the teacher in class today?" Xiao Yunju shook his head, and suddenly raised his head stubbornly. Yin Jian suddenly saw a line of tears on his little face. "What's wrong?" Yin Jian suddenly frowned. She squatted down and looked at Xiao Yunju's stubbornly tear-streaked face. "Are you Yunju's big sister?" Suddenly, a greeting came from the side. Yin Jian turned around and saw that the female teacher who had been standing on the podium just now was already in front of her. Next to the female teacher was a noble woman who was holding a white and chubby boy's hand. Before Yin Jian could respond to the female teacher, the noble woman next to the female teacher pointed at Yin Jian's nose and scolded her. Chapter 349. Hearing the woman's aggressive words, Xiao Yunju hid behind Yin Jian in fear. He hid behind Yin Jian and only stuck his head out. After the woman finished speaking, Xiao Yunju suddenly stuck his head out and shouted stubbornly, I didn't. Wang Ba snatched the candy that Ce Gij gave me first. I didn't want to give it to him, so he pushed me. That's why I pushed him back. Wang Ba was the chubby boy in the palm of Jin Mei's hand. Yun Jian turned to look at Wang Ba. His chubby body was trembling as he raised his head to look at Xiao Yunju. He seemed to be full of vigor. Looking at Xiao Yunju, he seemed to be cowering. It wasn't hard to tell that before school ended, he had already been taught a lesson by his form teacher, Teacher Lu. You're so young, but you've already learned how to lie. Haha. My son snatched your candy? Do you think the candy in your hand is made of gold? Will it make you immortal or something? My son doesn't have to worry about food and clothing. Why would he want that lousy candy in your brother's hand? Wang Ba's mother roared at Xiao Yunju. Teacher Lu was standing between Yun Jian, Xiao Yunju and Wang Ba's mother. She frowned, but her expression was ugly. Teacher Lu sided with Wang Ba. She frowned at Yun Jian and said, There's no such thing. I've already asked the students in class. They all said that your brother bullied Wang Ba. I stopped you today, because I want you to discipline your brother. Also, I want you to apologize to Wang Ba. Is it just an apology? Wang Ba's mother looked up at Yun Jian haughtily, with a contemptuous gaze. Everything happened so quickly that no one could react. I didn't. It was Wang Ba who pushed me first. Xiao Yunju was so anxious that he was about to cry. He leaned against Yun Jian, grabbed Yun Jian's hand and shook it. Big sister, I didn't push him for no reason. Xiao Yunju's black eyes blinked, and tears almost fell from his eyes. Yun Jian was silent for a while. She didn't say anything. She just reached out her hand and gently stroked her brother's hair. Ayo, what kind of person was this? Sure enough, a poor child from a poor family was different. You have no manners at all. Wang Ba's mother stared at Xiao Yunju and Yun Jian. After confirming that they were dressed plainly and looked like children from a poor family, she spoke even more fiercely. Yunju, aren't you going to apologize? If you've done something wrong, you have to apologize. Teacher Lu treated Yunju with her usual attitude as a teacher. Many teachers in the school would treat students with a one-sided view. Sometimes, it would even cause serious psychological trauma to the children. Teacher Lu was such a person. Just as Wang Ba was looking at Yunju smugly, his mother and Miss Lu were standing on his side aggressively. Yunju's expression changed. Yun Jian lowered her eyes. Suddenly she raised her voice. Enough. Teacher Lu, Wang Ba's mother, and even a group of passing parents were shocked by Yun Jian's shout. Yun Jian pulled Xiao Yunju. She stood in front of Wang Ba's mother and Teacher Lu without showing any signs of weakness. My brother will admit what he did, but he won't admit what he didn't do. Yun Jian then turned to look at Wang Ba and said fiercely, Little brat, you know very well whether you're lying or not. If I find out that you're slandering my brother, I'll tear your mouth apart. Chapter 350. Perhaps it was because he had been spoiled since he was young. Wang Ba did not back down out of fear. Instead, he stood up like his mother and raised his voice to Yun Jian. I'm not spouting nonsense. Humph, it was Yunju who pushed me. He's crazy. As he spoke, he pointed his chubby finger at Yunju and continued to scold and frame him. I also heard that Yunju is a fatherless brat. I actually brought candy today. After he pushed me, he snatched my candy away. Slap. Yun Jian stepped forward. She did not care that Wang Ba was a primary school student. She raised her hand and gave Wang Ba a hard slap. The words fatherless pierced Xiao Yunju's heart. Xiao Yunju's eyes, which had been stubbornly holding back tears, instantly turned red. In her previous life, when Yun Jian found Xiao Yunju, their parents were already dead. Xiao Yunju was an orphan at that time and was bullied. Therefore, Xiao Yunju's lack of parents had always been a scar on his heart. No matter who the person was, even if he was only 8 or 9 years old, Yun Jian would not allow him to touch Xiao Yunju's scar. It hurts. Mommy, it hurts. Woo. After being slapped by Yun Jian, Wang Ba's chubby body fell to the ground with a thud. He instantly howled in pain. My bow, or what's wrong with you? Wang Ba's mother hurriedly helped her son up in fear. After Wang Ba's mother helped him up, she glared at Yun Jian fiercely. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws at Yun Jian. You little b***tch. How dare you hit my son? Do you know how precious my son is? My son is nothing compared to that bastard brother of yours. You. With that, Wang Ba's mother was about to pounce on Yun Jian. Yun Jian grabbed Xiao Yunju and dodged to the side. Wang Ba's mother jumped forward, but because she missed Yun Jian, she fell to the ground like a frog. Wang Ba's mother, are you okay? Teacher Lu, who was comforting Wang Ba a moment ago, ran over to comfort Wang Ba's mother. Wang Ba's father was a board member of the school. Not long ago, he had donated a batch of books to the school. At that time, the principal had specially instructed her to take good care of Wang Ba. If something were to happen to Wang Ba in school, wouldn't that be terrible? Ba, damn girl, are you courting death? After Wang Ba's mother was helped up by Teacher Lu, she was in a sorry state. She was instantly enraged and glared at Yun Jian, as if she wanted to swallow Yun Jian whole. Surveillance. When Yun Jian saw that Wang Ba's mother had stopped pouncing on her, she looked at Teacher Lu and Wang Ba's mother and sneered. What? Wang Ba's mother and Teacher Lu did not react in time. Check the surveillance, and you will know if your son provoked my brother first, or if my brother bullied your son for no reason. Yun Jian looked fearlessly at Wang Ba's mother, who was in a sorry state. She paused and continued. Don't blame me for not reminding you. If your son framed my brother first, I will definitely kill all of you. Yun Jian's gaze turned menacing at once, sending chills down the spines of those who were present. There were not many surveillance cameras in this era, especially some people who did not even know what surveillance cameras were. However, Wanning Elementary School's equipment was more advanced. Therefore, every classroom was equipped with a surveillance camera. Chapter 351. Once she heard that they were going to check the surveillance cameras, Wang Ba's mother's slender figure shuddered. To be honest, she did not know if it was her son, or Xiao Yunju who made the first move. She had rushed to Miss Lu to ask Yunju to apologize to her son, after hearing her son's one-sided explanation, just as she arrived at school. Actually, Miss Lu had already reprimanded Xiao Yunju in front of the whole class about Xiao Yunju and Wang Ba's incident. She did not expect him to be so spirited, telling his mother directly after school and asking her to stand up for him. It was just that everyone had forgotten that there were surveillance cameras in the classroom. To be honest, in a school classroom, who would remember if there were any surveillance cameras? Besides, this was not an era where surveillance cameras were everywhere. Normal families would not even install surveillance cameras. Primary schools were different. The children were still young and mischievous. Moreover, the teachers could not keep an eye on their classmates all the time, so they could only install surveillance cameras in each classroom. Wanning Elementary School was the best primary school in Longmen City, so they could afford to install surveillance cameras. Therefore, every corner of the school was monitored by surveillance cameras. However, the internet was not yet popular in 1998. Even a mobile phone was still a luxury item. Therefore, many people, including the teachers, had completely forgotten about the fact that there were surveillance cameras in the school. Miss Lu snapped out of it at once. She believed that Wang Ba was not lying. So when Yun Jian said that, she went with the flow. Check the surveillance cameras then. In any case, Wang Ba was definitely right. Miss Lu's confidence came from nowhere. When she agreed to Yun Jian's request, her tone was confident and carried an air of maturity that was rich in experience. Isn't this just two kids pushing each other? What's there to check? Besides, didn't all the classmates in the class testify that he pushed my son? How could he be wrong? Wang Ba's mother did not mind talking too much. She stood up and spoke while trembling. After saying that, she kept repeating, "Besides, isn't it just a piece of candy? My family drives cars, why would I care?" So you're saying that you don't dare to check the surveillance? Yun Jian sneered. She had already noticed Wang Ba's reaction. Wang Ba's cowering appearance was clearly an expression of a guilty conscience. Yun Jian tugged at Xiao Yunju. She was here today to seek justice for Xiao Yunju. Oh, I get it now. You're afraid that people will find out that your son stole my brother's candy. So you don't dare to check the CCTV. Yun Jian could tell from Wang Ba's mother's words and actions that this woman was very prideful. Therefore, her voice was very loud, so loud that people who were dozens of meters away could hear her clearly. When Wang Ba's mother saw that everyone was looking at her, she felt embarrassed on the spot. She looked at Yun Jian and raised her head with an arrogant look. Who says I'm scared? Let's go. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, and her lips curled into a cold smile. After a while, the few of them arrived at the school's surveillance room. The teacher who was in charge of the surveillance room looked at Yun Jian and the others in confusion. Then, he sat in front of the computer and looked at the surveillance footage for a long time. Finally, he found the footage of Xiao Yunju angrily pushing Wang Ba down. During this time, Wang Ba's hand was accidentally scratched by Xiao Yunju. When Wang Ba's mother saw this, she was instantly enraged. She pointed at Yun Jian and continued to scold her. See, it's your brother who pushed my son. Yun Jian ignored the few of them. She asked the teacher to move away and sat in front of the computer. She reached out her hand and quickly tapped on the keyboard under the shocked gaze of the few people. Then, a scene suddenly appeared on the computer screen. Wang Ba walked towards Xiao Yunju, who was sitting in his seat. He pointed at the lollipop in Xiao Yunju's hand and asked for it. Xiao Yunju shook his head. Wang Ba rushed forward and pushed Xiao Yunju fiercely. When Xiao Yunju steadied himself, Wang Ba reacted and angrily pushed back. He even accidentally scratched Wang Ba's hand. Chapter 352. Teacher Lu, who was standing beside Wang Ba's mother, turned pale as well. Just now, Miss Lu's expression was the same as how much she believed that Wang Ba and Yunju were at fault. Little brat, it looks like I'm going to tear your mouth apart. While everyone was dumbfounded watching the surveillance footage on the computer, Yun Jian suddenly stood in front of Wang Ba, looking like she was going to tear him into pieces. Mom, I'm scared. Wang Ba was just a kid after all. He was scared by Yun Jian, and his heart almost stopped beating. He screamed and jumped into his mother's arms. Actually, Yun Jian was not going to tear his mouth apart. She just wanted to scare this kid who was full of nonsense. Her brother was not bullied. From the video, her brother was pushed and he fought back. Looking at the entire video, her brother had the upper hand. As for the students who lied to the teacher and said that Xiao Yunju was the one who started it, they were probably bought over by Wang Ba. This was not surprising. Most of the students in this school were educated by their parents to climb up the social ladder. The parents who tried their best to send their children to this school just wanted their children to make friends with rich and powerful families. Wang Ba's family seemed to be quite rich. It was not impossible for him to make some promises and get all the students to speak up for him. Wang Ba's mother, however, pulled her son into her arms. Her gaze on Yun Jian turned menacing, as if she was going to devour Yun Jian in the next second. So what if my son wants your brother's candy? You poor kids should feel lucky that my son wants candy. Wang Ba's mother looked at Yun Jian with a righteous attitude. Wang Ba's mother did not know how to write the word repentance. The reason why she dared to yell at Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju was because Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju were not wearing expensive clothes. Usually, rich people like to dress their sons or daughters up well and wear branded clothes from head to toe, just like her son Wang Ba. However, looking at Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju, their clothes were not bad, but overall they were very plain. There was not a single piece of branded clothing on them, especially when his son said that Yunju was a wild child without a father. Where could this kind of wild child's family go with money? Therefore, Wang Ba's mother did not intend to teach Yun Jian a lesson from the very beginning. Apologize. Yun Jian raised her hand and looked at the watch that she had just bought. She said to Wang Ba impatiently. What? Wang Ba's mother opened her mouth wide again on behalf of her son. She looked as if she had seen a new world. I'll give you two options. The first option is to ask your son to apologize to my brother immediately. Yun Jian cast a sidelong glance at her, suddenly looking a little sinister. Teacher Lu was also shocked. Wang Ba's mother, who was beside her, was also affected. She swallowed her lips and pursed her lips that were as red as a chicken's butt. Then she said secondly, "I'll kill you." Yunjian suddenly reached out. She took out a butterfly knife from her pocket in front of everyone and threw it at Wang Ba's mother's head. She was so fast that no one could react in time. When they did, Wang Ba's mother's heart was in her mouth. The butterfly knife brushed past Wang Ba's mother's hair and even tore off a lot of her hair. In the end, it bounced off a metal box and landed in Yunjian's hand. Wang Ba's mother was completely terrified by the scene. Everyone present was dumbfounded when they saw Yunjian's move. Chapter 353. Yunjian's action almost scared everyone to death. However, what she said after that made everyone shudder. Was it a joke? Who would play a joke by throwing a butterfly knife at someone's head? However, Wang Ba, his mother, and teacher Lu did not dare to make a sound. This was because they smelled a murderous aura from Yunjian. Moreover, after the butterfly knife was thrown, Yunjian was able to use the surrounding environment to bounce it back to her hand. Such a powerful skill could not be a coincidence. "So, are you going to apologize now?" Yunjian tilted her head. She held Xiao Yunju's hand and stared at Wang Ba's mother lazily. The threat came out of her mouth naturally. Wang Ba's mother could not help but swallow her saliva. She held Wang Ba's hand and paused for a moment. In the end, due to fear, she pushed her son and quickly fell to the ground. Wang Ba's mother gave her son a shove and glanced at Yunjian fearfully, looking like she had yet to recover from her initial shock. "Ba, apologize." Wang Ba's mother was someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong. She was scared out of her wits by Yunjian's butterfly knife. Although her son was important, her face and her son's dignity were definitely more important than her. Wang Ba was also scared out of his wits. After all, he was only a first grader. When Yunjian threatened him just now, Wang Ba was already scared out of his wits. So sorry." After being pushed out by his mother, Wang Ba's low voice came out of his mouth like a mosquito. "Xiaozhu, can you hear his voice?" Yunjian squatted down and looked at Xiao Yunju's pink face. She could not help but stroke his head and ask softly, "Sister, I can't hear him. He's speaking so softly." Xiao Yunju covered his ears with all his might. His pink face instantly became round, and he even made a face at Wang Ba. "Stupid Xiao Yunju, you?" Wang Ba saw Xiao Yunju making a face at him, and immediately stood up. He clenched his fat fist and wanted to threaten Xiao Yunju, but was covered by Yunjian's words. "Did you hear that? My brother said he didn't hear what you said." Yunjian turned her head sideways and looked at Wang Ba from the corner of her eyes. She played with the butterfly knife in her hand and revealed an evil smile. Yunjian's actions made Wang Ba's mother and the others' hearts tremble. Wang Ba's mother, in particular, was already chilled to the bone when she saw Yunjian playing with the butterfly knife. Shuddering, she smacked her son's head. "Ba, louder. Say it." Wang Ba's mother was afraid that the butterfly knife in Yunjian's hand would fly out of Yunjian's hand and fly towards her again. She was so scared that she quickly urged her son. It was the first time Wang Ba's mother had patted his head so hard. He felt so wrong that he was so scared that tears rolled down his face, and he started to stutter. Wang Ba looked at Xiao Yunju and shouted, Sorry." He had never been humiliated like this before. "If I find out that you bullied my brother again, you'll have to deal with it yourself." Yunjian sneered. She did not even look at Wang Ba. Instead, she held Xiao Yunju's hand and walked out of the surveillance room without looking back. Wang Ba's mother heaved a sigh of relief. She trembled as she pulled her son up. She did not even have time to greet Teacher Lu and ran towards the door. Of course, she was not satisfied. However, Wang Ba's mother knew that she was no match for Yunjian. Chapter 354. Yunjian held Xiao Yunju's hand and walked out of the school. They passed by a large patch of flower beds and a rockery that Wenning Elementary School had just built. Wenning Elementary School was definitely the most scenic in Longmen City. It had to be said that Wenning Elementary School occupied a large area, and it was not too close to the school building from the school gate. There were many flower beds for people to admire as they walked. The school leaders had even built a rockery to enhance the school's scenic view. At this time, somewhere in the rockery, the fountain was still spraying water. The water splashed up and down, forming a round hollow circle, which looked particularly beautiful. Yunjian held Xiao Yunju's hand as they walked out, and soon arrived at the school gate. Suddenly, Yunjian caught sight of a snack shop near the school gate. She pressed her lips together and bent down to ask Xiao Yunju, "Xiao Zhu, do you want to buy some snacks? Can I jijia?" Xiao Yunju was delighted when he heard that Yunjian wanted to bring him to buy snacks. He stood up and looked up at Yunjian, blinking his eyes adorably. Of course, Yunjian held Xiao Yunju's hand and walked to the snack shop. This was a small shop with old decorations. Most of the things sold inside were snacks that children liked to eat, such as spicy strips that cost a few cents a pack. The shopkeeper was a very pretty lady who looked about 18 or 19 years old. She must be the shopkeeper's daughter. When the lady saw Yunjian walking over with Xiao Yunju's hand, she stood up quickly and greeted them. "Hello. Do you want to buy anything?" Since Yunjian and the rest had gone to the surveillance room, the students at the school gate had already been taken home by their parents when they left the school gate. Hence, the shop was empty, leaving only Yunjian and Xiao Yunju walking over. "Jijia, I want spicy strips." Xiao Yunju grabbed Yunjian's hand and shook it excitedly when he saw the big bag of Wei-long spicy strips at the front. "No, spicy strips are junk food. Don't even think about it." Yunjian flicked Xiao Yunju's forehead and said softly with a smile, "Jijia, why do you say the same thing as Ce Gich?" Xiao Yunju pouted unhappily and looked away, blurting out. Yunjian was dumbfounded when she heard him. "Ce said the same thing too? Then I'll buy 3 lollipops. One for Jejia and one for me. This one is for Ce Gich." Xiao Yunju quickly reached out and took 3 lollipops from the shelf. He held them in his hand and looked at Yunjian with his small eyes blinking. Yunjian really wanted to ask Xiao Yunju why he kept mentioning Ce, but she swallowed her words. Just as she walked out of the shop with Yunju after paying the bill, 3 menacing silhouettes approached them from the opposite side. They were Wang Ba's mother, and the others. As for the other person, he was a middle-aged man. He was tall and sturdy, standing at 1.9 meters tall. He was plump and strong, and the muscles on his arms could be seen through his clothes. This middle-aged man looked exactly like Wang Ba, so it wasn't hard to tell that they were related. Chapter 355. Yunjian felt goosebumps all over her body when she heard Wang Ba's mother speaking to the middle-aged man with her soft and coquettish voice. The middle-aged man sized up Yunjian with a sarcastic look. He even looked at her as if she was a beggar. "Are you the one who bullied my woman and my son?" The middle-aged man looked at Yunjian and sneered. Yunjian held Xiao Yunju's hand. She raised her head slightly and looked at the middle-aged man. She smiled but did not say anything. The middle-aged man was Wang Ba's father, Wang Wugui. Wang Wugui was an employee of a large corporation. He had been working there for a few years and had been promoted a few times. He felt that he was already a big boss. Therefore, he liked to observe people's clothes when he looked at them. He was not afraid when he saw that Yunjian was dressed plainly, and Xiao Yunju did not have a single branded item on him. "Heh!" Yunjian crossed her arms and pursed her lips. She smiled as if she was looking at a fool. The 3 of them were indeed a family. The first thing they did when they came up was to check out their clothes. Yunjian saw through their actions clearly. "What are you laughing at?" Wang Wugui rolled up his sleeves and was about to walk towards Yunjian when he was stopped by Wang Ba's mother. "Hubby, you can't go. This girl is strange. She seems to know some martial arts." Wang Ba's mother stopped Wang Wugui and stood beside Yunjian. Now that her husband was there, Wang Ba's mother did not seem to be afraid of Yunjian. Wang Ba's mother had also forgotten about what happened in the surveillance room. She came over and lifted her head to meet Yunjian's eyes, her gaze distant. Then, Wang Ba's mother suddenly pointed at a Volkswagen Santana car that was parked not far away and showed it off to Yunjian. "Hee, little girl, you won't give up until you see the coffin." "Do you see that? That's my car. Do you have a car at home?" "Hee." Young people nowadays like to act like they're rich and powerful, but they're actually very sloppy at home. This young person was the one that Wang Ba's mother used to describe Yun Jian. Wang Ba's mother was not stupid. She did not want her husband to fight with Yun Jian. She followed Yun Jian here because she wanted to take revenge. She wanted to make fun of Yun Jian. Wang Ba's mother thought that young people nowadays would act like they were rich if they were poor. To Wang Ba's mother, Yun Jian was one of them. Wang Ba's mother's husband, Wang Wugui, actually had quite a high position in the company. After all, there were probably only a handful of people in the family who could afford to drive a car. Usually, Wang Wugui and his family would drive this Santana everywhere to show off. At the end of the day, their Volkswagen Santana was bought from New Cruise. Seeing that Yun Jian did not reply, Wang Ba's mother thought that she was stunned after hearing that the Volkswagen Santana belonged to her family. Wang Ba's mother was even more proud of herself. She even boasted, "Ha, do you know the famous New Cruise? They're the best car marketing company. My family's car was bought from New Cruise." Chapter 356. Ever since the auto show, New Cruise's name had risen in the industry. Zhang Jifan had been so busy lately that he did not even have the time to hire helpers. Yun Jian was only in charge of the bigger matters, while Zhang Jifan was in charge of the smaller matters. Of course, she would make a trip to New Cruise during the weekend. However, Yun Jian was amused when she heard her company's name from Wang Ba's mother's mouth. It was her company. Now that someone had bought a car from her company, how could she show off in front of her? Oh, Yun Jian held back her laughter. It was the first time she was so interested to know what Wang Ba's mother's expression would be if she knew that her car was bought from her company. "Have you heard of New Cruise or not?" "That's New Cruise. My family's car was bought there." But that's true. How would a child from a poor family like you have the chance to know about all these?" Wang Ba's mother's tone softened as she spoke. She tilted her head slightly and looked at Yun Jian with an indescribable disdain. "Sister, what's New Cruise? Can it be eaten?" Xiao Yunju was indeed a child. He lifted his head and shook it, the lollipop still in his mouth. Upon hearing Xiao Yunju's words, Wang Ba's mother was even more certain that Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju were children from a poor family. Wang Ba's mother glared at Yun Jian and continued to attack her with what she thought was a satisfying way of venting her anger when she recalled how Yun Jian had humiliated her in the surveillance room. "Yo, look, your brother doesn't even know what New Cruise is? Is it true that you don't know either? Haha, a child from a poor family. Just based on this, you can't compare to us. You're ignorant." Wang Ba's mother seemed to have seized the opportunity to insult Yun Jian. She shouted at the top of her lungs, as if she was afraid that the passers-by would not know what was going on. Just as Wang Ba's mother finished her sentence, the sound of an emergency brake came from the road. Vroom screech. The sports car's motor was very loud. It could be heard from far away. The sports car seemed to be moving very fast. By the time the crowd reacted, the sports car was already parked on a downhill road beside them. In 1998, even cars were considered rare luxury goods, not to mention sports cars. Wang Ba's mother and the rest turned around immediately when they heard the sound. Wang Ba's mother even wanted to use the sports car that appeared out of nowhere to brag to Yun Jian, so that she would be speechless and feel even more embarrassed. Yun Jian looked at the sports car that appeared out of nowhere as well, and squinted her eyes in surprise. "Hey, you've never seen it before. Do you know what a sports car is?" Wang Ba's mother pointed at the sports car that had appeared out of nowhere, wanting to boast about her knowledge. Xiao Yunju suddenly let go of Yun Jian's hand. He jumped excitedly towards the young man who came down from the Lamborghini sports car while shouting, "Brother CE!" CE stepped out of the Lamborghini sports car with his long legs, and his flawless handsome face was revealed. Seeing Xiao Yunju running towards him, he quickly carried Xiao Yunju. Wang Ba's mother and Wang Wugui were dumbfounded. Chapter 357. What was going on? When Wang Wugui and Wang Ba's mother saw the sports car that appeared out of nowhere, their first reaction was envy from the bottom of their hearts. Their family could afford a car, but it didn't mean that they could afford a sports car. Especially in this era, how many families in the city could afford a car? Moreover, a sports car's fuel consumption was incomparable to a car's. In other words, even if Wang Ba's family could afford a sports car, even if someone gave them a sports car for free, they wouldn't be able to afford a sports car based on its fuel consumption. However, they could afford a car, but other families didn't. Based on this, Wang Ba's mother had already bragged to many people. However, when she saw the high-end and domineering Lamborghini, although she couldn't tell what kind of car it was, she could tell that it was a sports car. Wang Wugui and Wang Ba's mother naturally envied her from the bottom of their hearts. Wang Ba's mother actually wanted to show off her knowledge in front of Yun Jian, so that she would think that she was the kind of person who could afford a sports car. However, she didn't expect Xiao Yunju to recognize the young man who drove the sports car. When she looked at Ce again, he was already carrying Xiao Yunju and walking towards Yun Jian. What's going on? Ce frowned. His cold and handsome face twitched as he glanced at Wang Ba's family from the corner of his eyes like a hawk's. He stood in front of Yun Jian and asked, "Nothing, it's just a bunch of flies blowing in my ear." Yun Jian waved her hand, as though she was trying to chase away flies. Flies? Ce raised his eyebrows and said. Wang Ba's mother sucked in a sharp breath when she saw Ce's face. When she saw Ce speak, she thought that he would say something fair that she wanted to hear. However, she didn't expect Ce to rub Xiao Yunju's head. His handsome face twitched and his brows twitched. Since it's just a few annoying flies, it's better to kill them. On the surface, he looked friendly, but the words he said were even more terrifying than Yun Jian's actions. Wang Ba's mother, Wang Wugui, and Wang Ba stood at the side and listened with cold sweat on their backs. Why were the young people who came today more barbaric than the other? Due to the awkwardness just now, Wang Ba's family didn't want to stay any longer. They turned around and wanted to run. At this moment, they heard a sinister voice came from behind them. "I've memorized your license plate. From now on, New Cruise's business with you." Thru's mother's license plate, On's license plate, the owner's names, and so on. That was why Yun Jian's mother's. What? Wang Ba's father wanted to run away with his tail between his legs. Wang Wugui's muscular body stood beside Yun Jian and said with a ferocious expression, "Why should New Cruise listen to you? Who do you think you are? You think you're going to stop doing business with us just because you said so? Because she's New Cruise's director." Unknowingly, there was another high-end Audi parked by the road. Zhang Jifan got out of the car and heard Wang Wugui's words. He walked over angrily and blocked Yun Jian's path as he spoke to Wang Wugui. Chapter 358. In spite of it, Zhang Jifan's words did not seem to have any effect on Wang Wugui when they reached him. Instead, Wang Wugui pointed at Yun Jian and told Zhang Jifan, "TSK, you're saying she's New Cruise's director? Are you King kidding me? Look at this girl. How does she look like New Cruise's director? She's dressed in rags, but New Cruise's director doesn't look like that. She should at least have 3 branded items on her." These were just the images Wang Wugui came up with for New Cruise's director. What Wang Wugui meant was to refute that Yun Jian was not New Cruise's director. TSK, what a joke. Who was he kidding? This girl dressed in cheap clothes was New Cruise's director? If she was New Cruise's director, he would be the country's general manager. Yun Jian was not upset by Wang Wugui's words. She did not even look at him. Instead, she turned to Zhang Jifan and pointed at the Santana sedan's license plate, telling Zhang Jifan directly, "Remember the license plate number. Block all information about him when we get back. New Cruise will never do any business with him in the future." "Yes, Sister Jian." Zhang Jifan nodded and ignored Wang Wugui. She spoke as if she meant it. Actually, Wang Wugui's eyelids were already twitching when he saw how confident Yun Jian was. Could it be that this little girl was really? Wang Wugui was startled by his own thoughts. In the end, he took his wife and son and hurriedly left this place. "What's the matter?" Yun Jian finally asked Zhang Jifan. "Sister Jian, Wanda Corporation invited you to a party at 6 tomorrow night. Are you going?" Zhang Jifan asked. Zhang Jifan was rich now and had bought a branded car, but he had yet to buy a phone. He had probably been too busy recently, so busy that he did not even have time to buy one. Therefore, Zhang Jifan drove over to ask Yunjian. He had gone to Yunjian's school, but there was no one there. It was also Xiao Yunju's school's dismissal time. Zhang Jifan was smart enough to come here. He was only there to ask Yunjian. After Yunjian answered him, he had to leave and rush to his work. There was no time to lose. Yunjian squinted her eyes. Wanda Corporation. Wasn't Wanda Corporation Zhang Xiaofeng's father's company? What a coincidence. Zhang Xiaofeng had reminded her repeatedly that she had to attend the masquerade party tomorrow night. Now, Zhang Jifan was telling her that Wanda had invited her as the representative of New Cruise. I'll go. Yunjian answered almost immediately. Zhang Jifan looked like he was saying, that's great. As long as Yunjian was willing to go, he did not have to do it on her behalf anymore. He could continue working on his own matters. Oh, okay, Sister Jian. I'll leave this to you then. Zhang Jifan said and waved at Xiao Yunju before he left. Thus, there were only Yunjian, Xiao Yunju and Ce left. Ce Gij, this lollipop is for you. Xiao Yunju was the first to break the silence, passing a strawberry-flavored lollipop to Ce with a drooping face, like he was anticipating a compliment. Looking at the red strawberry-flavored lollipop, Yunjian's lips tugged into a smirk. This color matched Ce. He probably wouldn't accept it, would he? In spite of it, Ce accepted Xiao Yunju's lollipop, and even praised Xiao Yunju with a rub on his head, before he opened the lollipop package, and popped it into his mouth. Yunjian was also stuffing Xiao Yunju's lollipop into her mouth. Her mouth was slightly agape as she watched Ce stuff the strawberry-flavored lollipop into his mouth. Did he really eat it? Yunjian was stupefied. The lollipop dangled by her lips as her jaw dropped. You've been staring at my lollipop for a long time. Since you like the taste of my lollipop so much, let's change. Chapter 359. Yunjian's heart thumped wildly when she saw Ce actually stuffing the lollipop she had already eaten into his mouth. She had never imagined that he would actually eat the lollipop she had already licked. Yunjian was still holding the lollipop Ce had already eaten. She was stunned. You're not eating it? Ce raised his eyebrows when he saw that Yunjian didn't put the lollipop in her mouth. You've already eaten it. I don't want it. Yunjian frantically stuffed the lollipop back into Ce's hand as a faint blush crept across her cheeks. Ce turned his face sideways, so that his perfect profile was facing Yunjian. He reached out and stuffed the strawberry-flavored lollipop he had just eaten into his mouth as well. His eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled wickedly. Yunjian's eyelids twitched twice. Her cheeks suddenly flushed red as she stood rooted to the ground and gritted her teeth. Then she said angrily to Ce, "You're really shameless." The scene of Ce stuffing 2 lollipops into his mouth at the same time was simply indescribable. Especially when she knew that one of the lollipops was one that she had eaten before. Yunjian felt even more embarrassed at the thought. I'm only shameless in front of you. Ce slowly held the 2 lollipops in his hand. His handsome face faced Yunjian as he stared fixedly at her with his mesmerizing eyes. Big brother Ce, what do you mean by shameless? Xiao Yunju looked suspiciously at Yunjian and Ce's actions. He shook his head from side to side as he asked with the lollipop in his mouth. A child with a curiosity that didn't fully understand was like a million whys, and always had endless questions to ask. Of course it's to praise your big brother Ce. Yunjian replied to Xiao Yunju before Ce could. Yunjian hadn't expected Xiao Yunju to ask Ce this question. She didn't want Xiao Yunju to know that she was scolding Ce, so she hurriedly spoke first. Oh. Xiao Yunju shook his little head, as though he understood what she meant. Yunjian let out a small sigh of relief. However, at this moment, Xiao Yunju's tender voice was heard again. He raised his head to look at Ce, and revealed his adorable little face. He praised Ce earnestly. Big brother Ce, you're really shameless. After that, Yunju looked up at Ce like he was waiting for a reward, blinking from time to time. Pft! Cough cough. Yunjian couldn't help but laugh out loud. However, She quickly stopped herself and coughed to cover up the awkwardness. As expected, Siyi's face instantly darkened. Big brother Ce, why are you so unhappy? Did Xiao Yunju say something wrong? Xiao Yunju blinked as he looked at Ce, and then at Yunjian strangely. You didn't say anything wrong. Your big brother Ce is very happy. Yunjian held back her laughter. She held Xiao Yunju's hand and happily strode forward. It was only when she was with Ce and Xiao Yunju that it was the most fun. At the same time, Yunjian dared to open her heart and laugh out loud. Ce suddenly walked around Xiao Yunju and leaned over to Yunjian's ear. He gently exhaled and said in a mellow voice with a hint of magnetism, "See how I'll deal with you." These words were extremely flirtatious, but Yunjian didn't feel the slightest bit repulsed. Her ears tingled, and she reached out to push Ce away. Xiaozhu, let's go. Ignore your big brother Ce. Yunjian grabbed Xiao Yunju's hand and took 2 steps forward. Chapter 360. Brother Ce, you're so shameless. When Xiao Yunju saw Ce reach out to grab Yunjian's wrist, he hurriedly raised his small hands and clapped twice as a form of applause. Xiao Yunju seemed to automatically categorize this as a compliment. He clapped his hands because his teacher had taught him that when praising others, he had to clap his hands. When he saw Ce reach out to grab Yunjian's wrist, he clapped out of habit to praise her. Ce's face was terrifyingly dark. He grabbed Yunjian's wrist with one hand and wrapped his other arm around Xiao Yunju's waist. He carried him single-handedly and walked towards the Lamborghini sports car. When he threw Xiao Yunju and Yunjian into the car, Ce started the engine. The car was like a bolt of lightning as it sped away in the blink of an eye. When they reached home, Xiao Yunju carried his small school bag and went to the study on the first floor to do his homework. Ce, on the other hand, held Yunjian's hand and went upstairs. The moment they left Xiao Yunju's field of vision, Ce pinned her against the wall with his height advantage. Yunjian squeezed her body, but was still pinned against the wall by Ce. She asked, "What are you doing?" "Of course, I'm doing what a shameless person should do." Ce smiled. He raised his thick brows and pressed his tall body against hers. Yunjian was kissed passionately, but she gradually lost herself in it. They only let go of each other when they were almost out of breath. "Be my woman." Ce hugged Yunjian as they stood in the corner. He declared domineeringly. His words were not a greeting, but an affirmation. She buried her head in Ce's chest and took in his light, fresh scent. She couldn't help but nod her head gently. Ce, on the other hand, wore a charming smirk. This was considered as establishing their identities. Yunjian nestled in Ce's arms. Her eyes were downcast, but the faint blush on her cheeks revealed her current emotions. After Yunjian agreed, Ce hugged her even tighter. He had always been a man who dared to take responsibility for his actions. Back then, he hated women, so he had never planned to find a woman and had never considered this possibility. However, Ce could guarantee that the person he approved of was definitely not just a playful relationship between a man and a woman. He wanted to pursue Yunjian with the premise of marriage. Yunjian did not know why she agreed to Ce's request. When she came to her senses, she had already agreed to his request. However, Yunjian didn't regret it. The next day in the evening, the sky turned dark quickly in winter. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the sky had already begun to turn dark. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Xiaofeng's father, Wanda Company, would be holding a masquerade party. The reason why it was called a masquerade party was that the people who entered the party would usually dress up repeatedly before going. Naturally, makeup was essential. Of course, they also needed to wear a decent gown. Zhang Xiaofeng had already prepared the gowns for Yunjian and Yunyi. Yunyi wore a black suit. Yunjian also wore the evening gown that Zhang Xiaofeng had asked Chen Xini to send to her. Yunjian even tied her hair up and put on light makeup. It was very light makeup. It looked as if she had never put on makeup before. However, one had to admit that Yunjian's skin was very good. Her skin was fair, and her lips were red and tender. Chapter 361. To put it bluntly, this masquerade party was a gathering for people from the same circle to get to know each other and make friends. Naturally, the children would play with the other children, while the adults would discuss adult matters. However, the similarity of the masquerade party was that everyone came dressed up beautifully. It could even be said that this was a blind date in disguise. This was because some rich families would bring their daughters or sons of marriageable age, who were dressed up prettily, or their sons who were dressed coolly. If they met someone who had the same goal as their family, they could naturally get to know each other. After all, rich people nowadays were particular about matching in social status. It was the best choice to pick a son-in-law or daughter-in-law for one's daughter or son at such a large-scale masquerade party. Yunjian rarely put on makeup. In her previous life, other than when she was on a mission, she would usually appear barefaced. She only put on light makeup for this masquerade party, and this was for Zhang Xiaofeng's sake. CE would not show up at such a large-scale event, and of course, Yunjian did not bring Qingyu along either. After all, Zhang Xiaofeng only invited her and her brother, Yunyi. The evening gown that Chen Sini sent to Yunjian was a hollowed-out black lace gown. However, there was enough fabric inside to cover the parts that should not be exposed, so there was no need to worry about a mishap. However, there was a disadvantage to this evening gown, which was that it exposed her shoulders. Wearing such thin clothes in such a cold winter would naturally make one shiver in the cold wind. In fact, most people wore evening gowns that exposed their shoulders and arms. This masquerade party was held indoors. There was a heater in the room, so as long as one walked in, they would not feel cold anymore. Yunjian wore this evening gown that exposed her shoulders, and a down jacket on the outside. The combination looked odd, but Yunjian did not mind at all. After meeting her brother, Yunyi, and Zhang Xiaofeng brought Yunjian and Yunyi into the room where the masquerade party was held. It was only then that the heater in the room was turned on. "Let's go and greet my dad first." "Master, my dad has been wanting to meet you since he found out that I've been learning from you." Zhang Xiaofeng led Yunjian and Yunyi into the room. In front of them, a tall middle-aged man was holding a wine glass and chatting with the person in front of him. Zhang Xiaofeng walked directly to the tall middle-aged man. "Feng, are you here?" When the tall middle-aged man saw Zhang Xiaofeng, he immediately greeted the person standing opposite him, before he turned to Zhang Xiaofeng and asked. The tall middle-aged man was Zhang Xiaofeng's father, Zhang Qishan. Zhang Qishan, this name was actually quite rustic. Actually, Zhang Xiaofeng's father, Zhang Qishan, did not have a good life when he was young. His parents were all from the countryside, so naturally, the name that they gave him was not flattering. When Zhang Qishan was young, he ventured out alone. Later on, because he took the right path, he slowly became rich out of thin air. Until now, Wanda Corporation was a big brand company in Country Z. "Yes, Dad, this is my master." Zhang Xiaofeng pointed at Yunjian and introduced her to Zhang Qishan. Zhang Xiaofeng had heard from his son that Zhang Xiaofeng was learning from Yunjian. Chapter 362. Yunjian's appearance was indeed disproportionate to her ability. It was no wonder that Zhang Qishan could not believe that she was the skilled master his son had been talking about every day when he first saw her. "Hello, uncle." Yunjian greeted Zhang Qishan politely. Hello, young lady." Zhang Qishan nodded and smiled apologetically at Yunjian and Yunyi. "Please forgive me for not being a good host. Uncle has something to do now, so please take a walk around." Zhang Qishan actually had something important to discuss with the person he was talking to earlier, so he spoke like that. In fact, for a group of businessmen like Zhang Qishan, this masquerade party was just a party held to make more friends who would be useful to their business. It was just to make some connections. Thank you, uncle." Yunjian thanked him politely and walked away with Zhang Xiaofeng and Yunyi. "Hey, master, the temperature in the room is just right. It's not too cold or too hot. Why are you still wrapped in such a thick down jacket?" Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Yunjian and asked in confusion. "It's fine like this." Yunjian pulled herself together. She didn't plan to take off the down jacket that was wrapped around her impressive body. She wasn't boasting, but this body was really developed too well. It was curvy in all the right places and concave in all the right places. The original owner's looks weren't just for show. On the contrary, if Yun Jian took off her down jacket, perhaps everyone's eyes would converge on her. This comparison wasn't exaggerated at all. Yun Jian didn't want to stand out either. Hey, look, the two of them are finally here. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded in confusion at Yun Jian's decision. Suddenly, he glanced over and saw people coming in from the door. He stood up and waved at them as he spoke to Yun Jian. Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen came in side by side with a few other young men and women around their age trailing behind them. However, judging by Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen's expressions, they did not seem to welcome the young men and women behind them at all. Chen Xinyi was wearing a pink strapless evening gown today. Her rather tall and straight figure was completely exposed. Ling Yichen, on the other hand, wore a black suit of the same style. The suit on Ling Yichen added quite a bit of handsomeness to him. The moment they saw Yun Jian, Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen looked like they had seen their savior. They quickly ran toward Yun Jian and tried to shake off the young men and women behind them. Jian Jian! Chen Xinyi called Yun Jian and ran behind Yun Jian. Ling Yichen's too. Hey, why are you running so fast? We can't catch up. Is this how you treat your guests? The young men and women who had been trailing behind Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen caught up as well. One of the younger girls pointed at Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen and shouted. The girl was dressed extravagantly. She was covered in glittering gold from head to toe, and there was a huge bow at the bottom of her chest that hugged her waist that was not particularly thick. The girl's name was Song Shanshan. Song Shanshan, and the group of young men and women behind her, were actually Zhang Xiaofeng's distant relatives. Zhang Xiaofeng's father, Zhang Qishan, was not originally from Zhe province. He came from the mountains in the north. These young men and women were actually Zhang Qishan's distant relatives, who came from the remote mountains in the north. Among them, Song Shanshan was a classic example. Song Shanshan's family was distant relatives to Zhang Qishan. In addition to the fact that it was the end of the year, the schools in the remote mountains had already started their winter break. Song Shanshan's group came to Zhang Xiaofeng's house as soon as the winter break started. After they arrived, they addressed themselves as their family's distinguished guests and started asking for all sorts of things. As an elder, Zhang Qishan especially felt that it was rare for distant relatives to come to Zhe province for a vacation, so he tried his best to satisfy their requests. For example, they wanted to wear gold and silver, buy all sorts of delicious food and fun things. All of these money was now paid for by Zhang Xiaofeng's father. These students who called themselves distant relatives, on the other hand, spent money like water. It was as if they had a free ATM machine, spending money everywhere. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Xinyi, and Ling Yichen had long been unhappy with this group of people. However, because Zhang Qishan was above them, they could only let them pester them. For example, just now when Zhang Xiaofeng finally managed to escape, Song Shanshan's group asked Chen Xinyi and Ling Yichen to bring them around with the excuse that they were distant relatives. Chapter 363. Song Shanshan and her friends came from the poor mountains. They had not seen much of the world on a daily basis, so they decided to stay at Zhang Xiaofeng's house, since the winter break was earlier than usual. As the host, Zhang Qishan was very well behaved. He treated Song Shanshan and her family with the best hospitality that he could give them when his poor relatives came to visit. Needless to say, the glittering gowns Song Shanshan and her entourage were wearing were bought by Zhang Qishan with justifiable reasons. Otherwise, with their family's financial situation, they probably wouldn't be able to afford such an evening gown, even if they spent the rest of their lives. Zhang Qishan was the only tycoon who managed to earn big bucks, so he became a free ATM in Song Shanshan and her friends' eyes. After all, Song Shanshan and her friends were used to living a hard life, so they came to Longmen City to look for Zhang Qishan. Moreover, Zhang Qishan himself was generous, so the students did not hold back when they talked nonsense. Anyway, it wasn't their money that was being used. Therefore, they began to spend lavishly. Don't follow us anymore. Chen Sini hissed at Song Shanshan and her friends through clenched teeth. Song Shanshan and her friends were thick-skinned. Why else would they freeload at their relative's house? On the other hand, Chen Sini and Zhang Xiaofeng were cousins. Chen Sini and Song Shanshan's group were more or less related to each other. However, the actions of Song Shanshan and her group had already made it impossible not to hate them. Do you think I'll stop just because you say so? Humph, how dare you treat me like this? Believe it or not, I'll tell uncle that you're bullying us. Song Shanshan pointed at Chen Sini with a smug look on her face. The uncle Song Shanshan mentioned was actually Zhang Qishan. You! Chen Sini was angry as well. She was about to argue with Song Shanshan, but was stopped by Zhang Xiaofeng. Ignore them. We'll go our own way, Zhang Xiaofeng said, looking at Yun Jian and Chen Sini. Wait, stop. Song Shanshan led them to stop Yun Jian and her friends, standing in the path that Yun Jian and her friends were about to go. This is a masquerade party. Why don't you take off your jacket? Song Shanshan stared at Yun Jian's fair and delicate face for a while, and asked with a hint of envy and jealousy in her voice. Song Shanshan was asking the same question as Zhang Xiaofeng. Song Shanshan had an average appearance to begin with, especially these kids who came from the mountains. They were used to living a hard life, and now that they were in Jia province, of course, they wanted to have fun. Today at the masquerade party, Song Shanshan led the group of girls, and thought that it would be great if they could have a romantic encounter at the party. Perhaps they could even catch the eye of a rich man. Yun Jian was called out all of a sudden. She was extremely lazy. She glanced at Song Shanshan and her friends from the corner of her eyes and replied, I don't want to take it off. Yun Jian's indifference made Song Shanshan choke. When she heard Yun Jian's words, Song Shanshan even puffed out her chest. She thought that Yun Jian's body under the down jacket would be skinny and underage. Take it off, let me have a look. Song Shanshan's curiosity was piqued as she stopped Yun Jian and demanded unreasonably. Chapter 364. Song Shanshan and her group came from a poor village, even though they had been staying at Zhang Qishan's house for a few days. They had been trying to change themselves, such as spending Zhang Qishan's money, buying branded goods, styling their hair, and so on. But deep in their bones, they still couldn't get rid of the wildness that came from the countryside. Now that Chen Sini said that, Song Shanshan was furious. She said to Yun Jian, What are you protecting? Are you protecting Bauer? You won't even take off your jacket. Song Shanshan just wanted to see if Yun Jian's figure and proportions were slimmer than hers. After all, girls were creatures who liked to compare themselves. Although she came from a poor village, she was very concerned about these things. From Song Shanshan's point of view, Yun Jian had such a delicate face, but refused to take off her down jacket. It must be because her body was too thin, or she had a lot of fat around her waist. Thinking of this, Song Shanshan's expression softened a lot. So what? Yun Jian turned to look at Song Shanshan. She suddenly felt that this girl and the group behind her were very funny. Song Shanshan saw Yun Jian's expression and knew that she was determined not to take off her down jacket. Humph. I hate it when city people like you put on such a face and act like you're so noble. Song Shanshan first scolded Yun Jian. Then she continued to speak. The tone of her words made people feel disgusted. Song Shanshan pointed at Yun Jian and shouted, Based on your expression just now, you have to take off your down jacket today, whether you want to or not. Her determined words made Yun Jian frown slightly. Yun Jian was not afraid of Song Shanshan's threat. The jacket is on me. Are you sure you have the ability to take it off? Yun Jian stuck out her pinky and hooked it at Song Shanshan as if mocking her. His action infuriated Song Shanshan. Due to the backward economy and the fact that there were only a few people in the village, it would take about 2 hours to walk from the village to the town. Song Shanshan was a country bumpkin who liked to bully others with her numbers. Yun Jian's action of sticking out her pinky had completely infuriated her. You city people are so delicate. Today, I'll let you know what it's like to cry. Song Shanshan was infuriated. She looked at Yun Jian's beautiful and delicate face, and her heart was already filled with envy. Now that he heard Yun Jian's words, his anger was rising. I'll beat you to death. City people. How arrogant. Song Shanshan said as she ran toward Yun Jian, trying to pull off Yun Jian's down jacket. Song Shanshan's brute force was considered decent among women. However, in front of Yun Jian, it was not enough. After Song Shanshan's ruckus, many people around had turned to look. When everyone looked over, they saw Song Shanshan pouncing toward Yun Jian, trying to hold her down and forcefully pull off her clothes. However, the crowd only saw Yun Jian tilting her body slightly and dodging Song Shanshan's pounce. Then, she smirked coldly and took off her down jacket in front of everyone. In the next second, she grabbed the down jacket and wrapped it around Song Shanshan, tying her up like how a person would be tied up. This was Yun Jian's jacket that she had taken off herself. However, when Song Shanshan was tied up into a hemp ball and fell to the ground, the crowd saw Yun Jian's slender body exposed to their eyes. The black hollowed-out evening gown on her body accentuated her shapely figure, making it hard for people to take their eyes off her. Song Shanshan was tied up and thrown to the ground, but she could still see Yun Jian. Chapter 365. It was undeniable that Yun Jian's perfect figure, coupled with her exquisite and perfect face, was revealed when she removed the clumsy down jacket. Right now, she was definitely the most eye-catching among everyone present. Song Shanshan, who was slightly bound by the down jacket, was dumbfounded. She stared at the absolutely stunning young lady, standing in front of everyone's eyes. At that moment, Song Shanshan regretted her decision to make Yun Jian take off her jacket. When she came back to her senses, Song Shanshan screamed, "Let me go! Let me go! Is this how you treat your guests? I'm a guest from afar. You can't treat me like this." Song Shanshan struggled a few times, but realized that she could not break free from the down jacket's bindings. It was just a down jacket, but after Yun Jian tied Song Shanshan up, it seemed to have become a complicated rope. Song Shanshan could not break free from it at all. "What are you screaming for? Scream again, and I'll throw you out on the streets." Yun Jian lowered her head and glared at Song Shanshan, threatening her. When Song Shanshan heard Yun Jian's threat, she really shut her mouth and did not say another word. The way Yun Jian tied her up just now was too strange. She was really scared from the bottom of her heart. "Master, you're amazing." Zhang Xiaofeng, who was standing beside Yun Jian, kept winking at Yun Jian. He stood aside and whispered to Yun Jian. Only God knew how long Song Shanshan had led this group of relatives to freeload at their house. At first, Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Sini naturally fought back. In the end, Song Shanshan complained to Zhang Qishan and was severely reprimanded. Even Zhang Xiaofeng's pocket money was confiscated by Zhang Qishan. It was not hard to imagine how much Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Sini hated Song Shanshan and her gang at this moment. Yun Jian did not look at Zhang Xiaofeng. She glanced sideways at Song Shanshan and her gang. Then, she licked her lips and said again, "Take this down jacket as a gift from me. Even dogs know when to bite. If you bark, you're worse than a beast." After that, Yun Jian called out to Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Yi, and the four of them turned and left. Song Shanshan and the others were left behind. They could not even maintain their dignity. However, they were being watched by the people around them and did not dare to chase after them. Moreover, everyone had witnessed Yun Jian's skills just now, so they dared not behave atrociously. Once they left, Zhang Xiaofeng could not help guffawing. "Ha ha ha, master, you're awesome. Did you see how Song Shanshan looked like she just ate sh*t? Ha, that was so satisfying." "Heh, Jian Jian, honestly I'm impressed." Chen Sini gave Yun Jian a thumbs up as she chuckled without a trace of her ladylike image. "Sigh, damn, I've never seen a distant relative like her. Freeloading at your house all day long. How scary." Ling Yichen could not help exclaiming. "Xiao Jian, what you did just now was so cool." Even her brother Yun Yi, who had been quiet all this while, could not help exclaiming. "Guh, do you want to learn?" Yun Jian turned to look at Yun Yi and asked with a chuckle. Of course. Yun Yi gave Yun Jian an affirmative answer. "I'll teach you and Zhang Xiaofeng this trick later." Yun Jian said with a smile. Chapter 366. TSKU? Ling Yichen, with your physique. I think you should just forget about it. Chen Sini mocked Ling Yichen when she saw that he was about to join in the fray. Then, Chen Sini and Ling Yichen started poking fun at each other again. Yun Jian did not say anything, but from her pursed lips, one could tell that she was in a good mood. Hey, did you guys know? I heard that the director of new cruise is coming to the party today. I wonder when he'll be here. At that moment, Yun Jian and the rest walked past a group of people who were chatting together and happened to hear their conversation. Hey, really? That famous director of new cruise is coming too? I heard that new cruise has always been managed by someone called Zhang Jifan. The director of new cruise is so mysterious. Another round of whispers came. To be honest, Yun Jian's ears perked up when she heard about new cruise. It was her own company after all, so the concept was different. Hey master, isn't that your company they're talking about? However, before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Xiaofeng stopped himself in time. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini, and Ling Yichen were learning from Zhang Jifan. This was something that Yun Jian had already acquiesced to. However, Zhang Xiaofeng knew that announcing Yun Jian's identity would cause a huge uproar. Hence, Zhang Xiaofeng only mentioned it, but the meaning behind it was obvious. Yun Jian replied, and walked past the group of people who were still discussing the topic. Yuni was confused. He rubbed his nose and followed Yun Jian. No matter how much his brother Yuni thought about it, he would never consider that. His younger sister was the director of new cruise. The masquerade party had started a long time ago, and the so-called masquerade party was nothing more than a group of people chatting, eating desserts and dancing. You're all here. Soon, Zhang Qishan was done talking to the people from before, and walked to Yun Jian and the rest who were tasting desserts. I was talking to my business partners just now, so I forgot about you guys. I'm sorry. Zhang Qishan was already in front of Yun Jian and the rest. He even smiled apologetically at Yun Jian and the rest. Yun Jian responded politely. Young lady, I should thank you too. Look at how you're teaching my Feng. You don't charge anything. Zhang Qishan said and paused. I'm not taking in disciples, of course. I won't charge them. Zhang Qishan was a nice person. He expressed his deep friendliness to Yun Jian and the rest. Uncle. Just then, Song Shanshan's not-so-pleasant voice was heard again. Many people had seen how Yun Jian tied Song Shanshan up. However, because the venue was huge, Zhang Qishan, who was standing far away, did not see it at all. Hey, what's wrong, Shanshan? Zhang Qishan asked with a frown as he turned around abruptly and saw Song Shanshan's disheveled face. Uncle, it's fine. I'm fine. No one bullied me because I'm from the countryside. I'm really fine. Song Shanshan lowered her eyes and blinked hard to squeeze out a tear. Chapter 367. Song Shanshan's words were a blatant lie. After Zhang Qishan heard this, he immediately frowned. What's going on? Feng did you bully your sister again? Zhang Qishan immediately pointed his finger at Zhang Xiaofeng. Dad, I didn't. Zhang Xiaofeng felt wronged. He turned to glare at Song Shanshan, feeling wronged. Uncle, he didn't. Brother Xiaofeng really didn't bully me. He really didn't. Song Shanshan's voice became softer and softer as she spoke. There was a hint of pity in her tone. Her pitiful look made Zhang Qishan misunderstand even more. Zhang Qishan immediately pointed his finger at his son. He looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and reprimanded him loudly. Feng, Shanshan is your sister. How can you bully her like this every day? Dad, I didn't. Zhang Xiaofeng was instantly enraged. He stood up and yelled at Zhang Qishan, sounding like a man who refused to admit defeat. Moreover, I don't have a sister like her. One in front of everyone and one behind everyone. Zhang Xiaofeng could no longer hold it in and growled. Uncle, don't throw a tantrum at Brother Xiaofeng because of me. It's not good. Brother Xiaofeng will hate me even more. Song Shanshan added. It was not to the point of no return yet. Zhang Qishan was instantly enraged. He felt that Song Shanshan, and the rest were his distant relatives. They came all the way from a remote village to his house as guests. On the other hand, his son Zhang Xiaofeng kept showing an unwelcoming attitude. It was too embarrassing for him. Zhang Qishan raised his hand and slapped Zhang Xiaofeng hard. No one saw the smirk on Song Shanshan's face at Zhang Xiaofeng. Song Shanshan watched as Zhang Qishan swung his hand at Zhang Xiaofeng. Just as his hand was about to hit Zhang Xiaofeng's handsome face, a pair of fair and delicate hands reached out to stop him. Yin Jian reached out and stopped Zhang Qishan. She pulled Zhang Xiaofeng to the side and dodged the slap. "Uncle, I was the one who bullied her." Yin Jian did not evade the accusation. She stood up boldly and admitted the truth. "You?" Zhang Qishan was stunned. It was as if he was getting to know Yin Jian all over again. He looked at her from head to toe and was completely dumbfounded. Song Shanshan gritted her teeth. She did not expect Yin Jian to admit it, but it was good. "Uncle, don't fight with my brothers and sisters because of me. I'm going back to the village in a few days anyway." Song Shanshan pretended that she was forced to go back to the village. Her demeanor made Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest shudder in disgust once more. "Go, go, go. Go back as soon as possible." Zhang Xiaofeng followed Song Shanshan's words and shouted. Song Shanshan naturally did not plan to go back. She just wanted to pretend to be pitiful in front of Zhang Qishan. Zhang Qishan would definitely ask her to stay in the end. Song Shanshan was right. When Zhang Qishan heard his son's unreasonable words, he immediately shouted at Zhang Xiaofeng, "Feng er." Chapter 368. But Uncle, Brother Xiaofeng and the rest don't seem to welcome me here. Song Shanshan blinked, even sneering triumphantly at Yin Jian from an angle that Zhang Qishan could not see. "That's not true." Zhang Qishan was completely fooled by Song Shanshan. He turned to look at his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, and ordered him, "Feng er, apologize to Shanshan right now." "Why should I, Dad? I didn't bully her. Master has already said it," Zhang Xiaofeng said innocently. He gritted his teeth hatefully, but he refused to give in. Yin Jian had already admitted that she bullied Song Shanshan. But Zhang Qishan could not order Yin Jian to apologize to Song Shanshan. Therefore, Zhang Qishan naturally wanted to take a step back and let his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, apologize on behalf of his master, Yin Jian. Shanshan was magnanimous. She would probably let it go, right? After all, from Zhang Qishan's point of view, Song Shanshan and the rest were all innocent children. These children were just like him when he was young in the countryside. Because their family was poor and had no money, they had to starve from a young age. Today, with Song Shanshan as the guest, Zhang Qishan felt that he had to treat them well. "I bullied her. I apologize." Yin Jian suddenly spoke up. Master?" Zhang Xiaofeng was dumbfounded. Chen Xini and Ling Yichen were stunned as well. From what they could see, Yin Jian had never apologized to anyone before. She was so domineering, yet she wanted to apologize to Song Shanshan on behalf of Zhang Xiaofeng? Song Shanshan was stunned too, but she was proud of herself. Zhang Qishan was stunned too. Yin Jian was his son's master, and Song Shanshan was his distant relative. Zhang Qishan was the one who felt the most embarrassed when the two of them quarreled. He wanted Zhang Xiaofeng to apologize to Song Shanshan, because he did not want to embarrass Yin Jian. Secondly, he wanted to appease Song Shanshan. It was just that his son Zhang Xiaofeng had to suffer. However, he did not expect Yin Jian to stand up and apologize. At this moment, Yin Jian stepped forward. She walked up to Song Shanshan and pursed her red lips under Song Shanshan's expectant gaze. Yin Jian pursed her red lips and said, "First of all, I want to apologize for your insistence on taking off my down jacket just now. When I refused, you attacked me and took off my clothes." After Zhang Xiaofeng and the others heard Yin Jian's apology, they were all stunned. Is Yin Jian apologizing? She was simply conveying a message to Zhang Qishan. That was because Song Shanshan insisted on taking off her clothes. That was why she fought back. What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't." Song Shanshan was taken aback. She did not expect Yin Jian to use such a method to express her actions. "Oh, you forgot?" The corners of Yin Jian's lips curled up into a creepy smirk as she looked at Song Shanshan with a smile that sent chills down one's spine. Uncle, she's talking nonsense. There's no such thing. Song Shanshan panicked, because her true self was exposed before Zhang Qishan's eyes. She quickly explained, "My master's down jacket is still in their hands. Song Shanshan was the one who took off my master's clothes and took it away." Zhang Xiaofeng had an idea. He saw someone standing behind Song Shanshan, still holding Yin Jian's down jacket. So he turned around and accused Song Shanshan. You're lying." Song Shanshan was really panicking now. She shouted at Zhang Xiaofeng again in fear. Chapter 369. This time, Song Shanshan was truly speechless as she pulled a long face. After Yun Jian had tied her up earlier and Song Shanshan had someone release her, she gritted her teeth and said she wanted revenge. Someone in Song Shanshan's group had picked up Yun Jian's down jacket and brought it along. After all, they came from the poor countryside. The person who brought the down jacket had food and clothing problems all year round. Seeing that Yun Jian did not want the down jacket anymore, she quickly took it with her. It was such a waste not to take such a good piece of clothing. Song Shanshan did not notice it either. After she was released, her mind was preoccupied with taking revenge on Yun Jian. So she hurried over with the group. She did not expect her carelessness to be used against her. I. Song Shanshan kept repeating the same word. She could not even finish the rest of her sentence. Zhang Qishan was also a farmer from the countryside, but after so many years in the business world, how could he not notice the change in Song Shanshan? Especially when Zhang Qishan saw Yun Jian for the first time. Yun Jian was wearing the down jacket. Now the down jacket was in the hands of Song Shanshan and her people. What did this mean? Uncle, Song Shanshan was anxious to explain herself. However, Zhang Qishan stopped her. Alright, don't say anything. I'll send all of you back to the countryside tomorrow. Zhang Qishan's attitude changed too quickly. In fact, Zhang Qishan had met many scheming people when he was working in Longmen City in his early years. There were even many who were two-faced. After being deceived a few times, Zhang Qishan hated such people very much. In the beginning, Song Shanshan and the rest gave Zhang Qishan the impression that they were good children who would not do anything bad. They came from the countryside and were his distant relatives. It was only natural for him to take care of them. However, when Zhang Qishan found out about Song Shanshan's true colors just now, he did not expose her immediately. However, his impatient expression proved one thing. He did not want to see Song Shanshan and her group anymore. Moreover, Zhang Xiaofeng was his son. As a father, he would naturally side with his son. Uncle. Song Shanshan panicked when she saw that Zhang Qishan was serious. However, Zhang Qishan cut her off impatiently. That's enough. You've been playing here for days. Your parents will be worried. This statement meant that Zhang Qishan was determined to send Song Shanshan and the rest back. Song Shanshan's face darkened. Her hatred for Yun Jian and the rest grew. Just as Song Shanshan and the rest's faces darkened in fear, a middle-aged man quickly walked up to Zhang Qishan and asked, CEO Zhang, is the director of New Cruise here? Zhang Qishan was stunned. Only then did he realize that the director of New Cruise would be here today. Zhang Qishan stared blankly for a moment before shaking his head. Not yet. Actually, Zhang Qishan had no idea who the chairman of New Cruise was. This middle-aged white-collar man, who came out of nowhere, clearly had a favor to ask of New Cruise's director. His eyes darkened when he heard Zhang Qishan's question. Uncle, New Cruise? Is that the company that's been popular lately? Song Shanshan suddenly perked up and lifted her head to ask Zhang Qishan. Although Zhang Qishan was unhappy with Song Shanshan's scheming earlier, he would not ignore her. Hence he nodded. Then, is the director of New Cruise a man or a woman? Song Shanshan asked again. Yun Jian, who was standing not too far away, was surprised by Song Shanshan's question. However, Yun Jian could see Song Shanshan's intention from her gaze. Chapter 370. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what Song Shanshan's motive was just by looking at her eyes. Especially since Song Shanshan was from the countryside. Someone from the countryside like her, who had been living the life of a rich person for a few days, after coming here, would definitely feel indignant about being sent back to the countryside all of a sudden. Well, I'm not too sure myself. But Shanshan, why are you asking about this? Zhang Qishan did not know what Song Shanshan was thinking, so he asked her back after answering her. Nothing, uncle. It's nothing. I'm just asking. Although Song Shanshan did not say it out loud, her expression was rich. It was not hard to tell that she was excited and expectant. She was looking forward to the chairman of New Cruise being a man so that she could. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini, and Ling Yichen were stunned when they heard Song Shanshan's words, but soon understood her plan. The three of them snickered to themselves. Ha! The person you want to suck up to, the chairman of New Cruise, is right in front of you. They're here. The people from New Cruise are here. Just then, a few people came in from the entrance. Someone could not help but shout when they saw them. The people who came in were all men in their 30s and 40s. They were the higher-ups who represented New Cruise in various occasions. Yin Jian knew them too, and was very familiar with them. They were the people who had walked out of Xinjiang town with her, and Zhang Jifan back then. Furthermore, the few of them were doing quite well now. They're here. Which one of them is the chairman of New Cruise? Song Shanshan cried out when she saw them. She could not help but roar in her heart. Who was the chairman of New Cruise? If it was one of these men, then she would definitely have to suck up to them. At least she would never go back to a destitute place like the countryside again. She, Song Shanshan, did not want to go back to the countryside. That was the only way she could think of. The appearance of these men made Zhang Qishan take a few more glances. He had heard of New Cruise before, and among these men, there was a high chance that one of them was the famous chairman of New Cruise. Therefore, Zhang Qishan was also a little excited. The men scanned the place before making their way to where Yin Jian was. Song Shanshan almost screamed when she saw this. Oh my God, they couldn't have walked over because they saw me, right? Yin Yi stood beside Yin Jian. He only frowned slightly as he watched the group of people walking towards them. However, he didn't find anything strange. It was only when the men came to Zhang Qishan, and under his surprised gaze, walked around him to Yin Jian behind him and bowed 90 degrees to Yin Jian, greeting her in unison. Sister Jian. Sister Jian, what? What? These higher-ups of New Cruise were addressing Yin Jian as Sister Jian. It meant Song Shanshan's smile instantly froze on the spot. She was completely dumbfounded. Zhang Qishan was also stunned. As for Yin Yi, who stood beside Yin Jian, his eyelids tightened. Zhang Xiaofeng, on the other hand, went over with a chuckle and put his arm around one of the men's shoulders to chat. Old Hege, you're only here now. The man who was called Old Hege was a gangster who left Xinjiang town with Yin Jian back then. Zhang Xiaofeng and his brothers were now working under Zhang Jifan in New Cruise, so they were familiar with the people there. Zhang Qishan was even more surprised when he saw how familiar his son was with the people in New Cruise. Yun Yi's shock could not be described as astonishment. Looking at Yin Jian, he asked after a beat, Xiao Jian, is New Cruise your company? Yin Yi was smart enough to connect the dots. His younger sister's change and the rise of New Cruise seemed to have started at the same time. As for him asking Yin Jian with a questioning tone, it was only to get a definite answer. Chapter 371. Once Yin Yi said that, the people around them looked at Yin Jian inquisitively. What Yin Yi asked was what everyone was thinking. Since these middle-aged men were New Cruise's higher-ups, it was safe to say that other than Zhang Jifan, or one of New Cruise's directors, they would not respect anyone else. What did it mean when they went to Yin Jian and called her Sister Jian? What did you say? She's New Cruise's director? Song Shanshan shrieked before Yin Jian could answer Yin Yi. New Cruise's director was a woman? It was Yin Jian who she had argued with before. Song Shanshan dared not accept the truth. Is there a problem? Yin Jian raised a brow and tilted her head to glare at Song Shanshan with a faint smile before looking at Yin Yi and telling him the truth in a firm voice. Yes, go. I founded New Cruise. Yunjian's flat and monotonous words sent chills down everyone's spines. Hearing about it was far from being as vivid as seeing it with one's own ears. For a moment, other than Zhang Xiaofeng, Bro He, and the higher-ups of New Cruise, everyone who heard the commotion, including Yun Yi, were frozen in their last action as they stood dumbly where they were. New Cruise, what kind of company was that? Its rise was when the auto show officially kicked off. Until now, it was probably less than 2 months old, and it had already taken the country by storm. It had even become a national model pioneer in the automobile marketing industry. Even some of the international business tycoons would have to nod their heads in awe at such results. The director of such a company, the founder of New Cruise, was a young girl who was not even 18 yet. Yuni opened his mouth, but he was so shocked that he could not utter a single word. Was this really his younger sister Yun Jian? When Yun Jian saw the astonishment on her brother's handsome face when he looked at her, she pressed her lips together and continued to explain. Gu, I didn't tell you before because I was afraid that you wouldn't agree to me starting the company. Of course he would not agree. If Yuni had known that Yun Jian wanted to start a company from the start, he would never have let her go down this path. After all, starting a company was a risk that could come at any time. Before Yun Yi could reply to Yun Jian, however, a voice cut in. Cough cough. Hello Director of New Cruise. I have something to discuss with you. The person who spoke was the middle-aged man who had come to ask Zhang Qishan if New Cruise's director was here. However, before the middle-aged man could finish, Yun Jian cut him off. You don't have to talk to me about it. Go to the company and look for Zhang Jifan. He can make the decision. Yun Jian was really good at being a hands-off boss. The middle-aged man could only nod and leave. Uncle, thank you for your hospitality today. I'd like to leave first. Yun Jian waved her arms and said to Zhang Qishan. Zhang Qishan thought that he could ask his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, if he had any questions, so he nodded. Hence, Yun Jian greeted Bro He a few more times and bade farewell to Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest. She then turned to Yun Yi and said, Go, let's talk outside. From start to finish, the overbearing Song Shanshan had been completely ignored. Chapter 372. Yun Yi stood beside Yun Jian. His tall frame was a stark contrast to Yun Jian's petite frame. He tilted his head to look at his younger sister. His brows furrowed so tightly that they could squash a fly. Just as they stepped out of the heated venue, the winter breeze blew. The piercing wind blew against Yun Jian, who was only wearing an evening gown that exposed her arms and shoulders without a jacket. The winter breeze was the most piercing of all 4 seasons, especially when Yun Jian's down jacket was taken away by Song Shanshan's men. Even if Song Shanshan's men did not want the jacket, Yun Jian would not take it back. Xiao Jian, are you cold? Yun Yi was shivering from the cold as well, but he was not in a hurry to ask Yun Jian about New Cruise. Instead, he was concerned about his younger sister. Go, I'm not cold. The weather was freezing, but Yun Jian was not afraid of the cold. In her past life, Yun Jian had gone on a mission in a place that was dozens of degrees below zero. She had only worn a sleeveless jacket back then, and was nearly frozen into a block of ice. In spite of it, she overcame everything and returned after completing the mission. Therefore, to Yun Jian the cold was nothing. Yun Yi, who was wearing a thin suit, was shivering from the cold as well. Just as he was about to remove his jacket to help Yun Jian put it on, he saw a flash in front of him. A man who was as tall as him, but had more defined eyebrows, and a finely sculpted face, appeared in front of his younger sister. Ce draped a cotton-padded jacket over Yun Jian. Looking at Yun Jian's face that was red from the cold but unaware of it, he asked with heartache, Why didn't you bring a jacket out? Yun Yi's eyelid twitched when he saw Ce, who appeared out of nowhere. Yun Yi was no stranger to Ce since they were living under the same roof, but he had never seen Ce being so gentle to Yun Jian. Just like a couple in love? Why are you here? Yun Jian asked Ce as she looked up and adjusted the men's cotton-padded jacket. Just happened to pass by, Ce said without batting an eyelid. He was not going to say that he followed Yun Jian here on purpose. In spite of it, Ce really did not want to go to such a fancy party, because he disliked the environment. Let me send you guys home. Ce took a step back to stand beside Yunjian, and grabbed Yunjian's hand to head to the car. Wait, Yunyi shouted. What are you guys doing? Yunyi asked with furrowed brows when he saw Ce grabbing Yunjian's hand. Yunjian was stunned. She did not expect Ce to grab her hand in front of her brother. She quickly pulled her hand back. Ce was not in a hurry to grab Yunjian's hand. He raised his brows and the street lights shone on him, adding a hint of masculinity to his perfect figure. As you can see, Ce said with a smirk, spreading his arms at Yunyi in an irritating manner. Yunyi's eyes widened. He did not expect Ce to take advantage of the little sister he had been protecting since young. When did this happen? Why didn't he know about it? Chapter 373. The moment Yunjian looked down, Yunyi was already grabbing Ce's collar. Startled, she said quickly, "Go, he didn't." "Xiaojian, tell me the truth. Did he bully you? If he did, I won't go easy on him." Yunyi was enraged as his grip on Ce's collar tightened. Ce, on the other hand, did not look like he was going to fight Yunyi at all. Yunjian knew that if Ce wanted to fight, Yunyi would not even be able to touch his collar. He really didn't. I was willing to do it. Yunjian shook her head at Yunyi. To put Yunyi's mind at ease, she continued, "Go, I'm so good. How can I be bullied?" Yunjian sounded a little guilty. She was good, but she really could not do anything to Ce. Once Yunyi thought about it and realized that his younger sister was indeed skilled, and did not look like she would be bullied, he let it go and looked down, calming down instantly. Ce was only slightly taller than Yunyi, so Yunyi released his grip at once after hearing Yunjian's explanation. When did you guys start? Yunyi had the right to ask when his younger sister, whom he had been protecting since young, was snatched away. Not too long ago. Yunjian answered Yun-yi like an obedient younger sister. Yunjian felt warm inside. She was no longer alone. It felt good to have family protecting her. I'm telling you, no matter who you are, even if you're God or the Jade Emperor, don't let me find out that you're bullying my younger sister. Otherwise, I'll kill you even if I have to die. Yunyi suddenly turned to look at Ce and warned sternly, "If I bully her, you don't have to do anything. I'll be damned." Ce said sincerely. Yunjian was probably the only person in the world who could make Ce swear and curse him like that. Yunyi withdrew his aggressive attitude and chuckled before turning to look at Ce with a sly grin. "If it's you, I won't have to worry about Xiaojian's future. Haha." As he spoke, Yunyi laughed heartily and led the way. What did he mean? Yunjian mulled over her brother's words before she blushed. Could it be that her brother had seen Ce's character from the start? "Xiaojian, brother-in-law, why are you still standing there? Where's the car? Hurry, I'm numb from the cold." Yun-yi, who had walked some distance away, suddenly realized that she did not know where to go, so she turned to call out to her brother. Hearing Yunyi calling Ce brother-in-law, Yunjian blushed again. "Let's go." Ce pressed his lips into a smirk and grabbed Yunjian's hand with one hand to lead the way. Leading Yunjian and Yunyi, he came to an eye-catching Rolls-Royce sedan not far away. "Let's go." Ce tilted his head and told them. He arranged for Yunjian and Yunyi to sit in the back seat, while he sat in the front passenger seat. Ce did not drive his Lamborghini here. The person who drove the Rolls-Royce was Adam, who had settled down here. "Drive," Ce told Adam after they got into the car. "Yes." Adam nodded, but he still saw Yunjian's men's jacket in the back seat through the rearview mirror. This cotton-padded jacket was a rare birthday gift from Shuang, and he hadn't even had the chance to wear it once. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.